Good morning. It's a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. A lot of Tuesday regular stuff coming up later on in the program. We'll check in with Bo Smolka, Pressbox Ravens beat writer, and more. That's all on the way today. Today's show is brought to you by Atman's Deli, and if you are craving that classic New York deli experience, I've got something great for you, because you've always known how wonderful Atman's Deli is. That's not new. But what is new is the new location for Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. They still have all of your favorites, like the corned beef piled high, the hand-rolled bagels. But this location is also a bar. It's like the perfect marriage of Atman's and sports bar. The place to go before and after games. I'm so excited about Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com to find out more and for daily specials. atmansdeli.com, again, is the website. I am not going to join you in panicking about how the running back market is unfolding. I'm just not going to do it. Seeing other guys, look, the things that I would have liked to have seen the Ravens do, I think I've said a million times, I had no interest in spending 8 figures on a running back. So the top end of the running back market was never going to be for me. Like those players, just didn't think it made sense for the Ravens. Zach Moss intrigued me. I'm disappointed. That would have been a good number for me for Zach Moss. Particularly disappointing, ended up in Cincinnati. Is what it is. I would have liked Zach Moss at that number. I would have liked to have brought back Gus Edwards. That was like number 1 on my list. That's a huge bummer. Probably should have seen it coming based on the deadline a couple of weeks ago, but it still would have been nice for it to work out that way. I would have liked that. But I'm not going to suddenly pretend like I feel a certain way about running backs because other running backs are signing elsewhere. Maybe Derrick Henry still ends up being a Baltimore Raven. And if the market is closer, I know there was some random person in Cleveland reported that the offer was $6.5 million. Maybe that person in Cleveland, who's a radio host, knows something, maybe. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt because it just doesn't make sense. But it's not impossible. Maybe Derrick Henry still ends up being a Baltimore Raven. But if he doesn't, I'm not going to pretend to be panicked about running back. I'm not. The Ravens still have internal options that could return. J.K. Dobbins, Dalvin Cook. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are confident that Keaton Mitchell is going to be out until December because he tore his ACL in December. Modern history suggests torn ACL does not necessarily mean 12 months. It's been far closer to the 9-month number. And I still don't know what to make of the fact that John Harbaugh in his end-of-season press conference suggested that none of the injuries would linger into next season because that seems impossible for Keaton Mitchell specifically, but either maybe he blanked on that or they're just very encouraged about something related to Keaton Mitchell. I don't know. I don't know that I would work on the assumption that he will be there for week 1. But for me to assume that Keaton Mitchell is missing the majority of the season until we have some sort of update that suggests that, I don't know. If you knew you had Keaton Mitchell, to me, I'd have zero concern. Keaton Mitchell would be the guy that I think was going to be a featured running back this season. Obviously, not knowing that makes it a deeper conversation. I'm drafting a running back. But Keaton Mitchell, to me, is the story because Keaton Mitchell is a reminder that you can find featured backs anywhere other than retreads. The Ravens' strategy for a couple of years was just sign whoever's waiting there on August 15th. That's not how you find your featured running back. How do you find your featured running back anymore? Well, you tell me. Who won the Super Bowl last year?
The Chiefs did.
Now, they
Last
had
couple.
a running back that was pretty significant, correct?
Yeah.
Where did they find him?
I believe the 7th round.
The 7th round of the NFL draft. The 7th round. You're just not going to get me to freak out that you have to spend money at running back. If it worked out, again, I told you who I would have liked. I would have liked Gus Edwards back. I would have liked Zach Moss at that number. If Derrick Henry's number is very low, I'm not going to be – this is the conversation we had with Femi last week, right? Like, what if Gus was 5 and Derrick Henry was 7.5, or, you know, it was 5.5 for Gus, 8 for Derrick Henry, and you're like, okay, I can see it. Like, if we're getting into that territory with Derrick Henry, then there's no, you know, it's that no such thing as a bad 1-year contract concept. If that's what we're looking at, based on what Aaron Jones got, then we'll talk about it. But if it's not, if it continues to be a whiff in terms of the top running backs on the market, I'm not going to panic about it. I'm not. It's funny because I said that on Twitter this morning, and somebody got in the back and forth with me. Well, you know, this sounds like how he felt about edge rush last year. You know where I would be panicked about? Edge rush. Because you don't find edge rushers in the 7th round of the draft. They're not created equal. I agree the Ravens need to do something to add to the running back room because right now they have one definitive healthy running back going into next season. They have to do something. We agree about that. I just never agreed that it had to be the high end of the running back market. But they have to do something. The facts would state that you can do something and get high-level play out of running back. The people that are doing the bit were like, well, they just want to keep running Lamar Jackson into the ground. Get the entire it is just so brainless, I don't know where to start with it. It's like we all agreed to just shut off reality because we were emotionally attached to the idea of Saquon Barkley or whatever. It don't work that way. Look, I'm as infuriated as you are that they didn't give the ball to their running backs in the AFC Championship game. But it wasn't because the backs were the problem. They had them. The backs they had were good enough. They just didn't give the ball to them. And it infuriates me too. I feel like there's this groupthink mentality that's came in. Like, if you spend more money at running back, then you're forced to give the ball to that running back more, and that'll solve all of the Ravens' problems. It's just bizarro land, man.
If that's what it takes, maybe it will solve their problem.
No, it's not a thing.
Why didn't they give the ball to
Trust me, I'm pissed off about it too. But to pretend like the problem was the backs, it was not. We are rewriting history. I would have liked to have Gus Edwards back. And I'm even more in love with Audric Estime than I was 2 days ago. Because now I would like to find a back that replaces Gus Edwards. But in fairness, where did they find Gus Edwards?
I don't even know. Somewhere in the
undrafted.
Undrafted, okay.
Undrafted. This is how it works. Which isn't to say that there's never a good running back that's selected early, or that, you know, the Eagles will regret giving money to Saquon Barkley, or that the Packers will regret giving money to Josh Jacobs. All those might work out. Maybe. I don't know. It's possible. Commanders might be very happy with Austin Eckler. I can't tell you. I can't see the future. But I know, based on track record, that outside of I can't even talk about Christian McCaffrey as a running back because he's not a running back. He's an athlete who happens to play running back. And I get it. There's an argument that Barkley would be closer to that, but he's not Christian McCaffrey. But outside of Christian McCaffrey, there's no correlation between how much you're paying your running back and success of a football team. There's one unicorn, and then there's a bunch of other guys. And the teams that have paid their quarterbacks, i.e. the Kansas City Chiefs, have been able to find what they needed at the running back position elsewhere. I mean, it is not, there has been no proof that you need to spend significant assets at running back. Which, again, as I keep saying, doesn't mean, I'm telling you, come hell or high water, they better not sign Derrick Henry today. If they do, they do. And as long as it's at a good number, fine. I'm not going to be angry about it. I like good football players. But I'm not, like, this thing that we do. No one's talking about edge rush. No one. We're all panicked about running back. It's so bizarre to me. It's so weird. The Ravens have, like, a dramatic need at edge rush. And maybe it's just because we've been conditioned that the Ravens, like, we truly believe the Ravens can just find the next Jadeveon Clowney. Like, we just think that's how it works now. I don't. I think that was a miracle. And assuming another miracle, to me, doesn't work. Now, they bring back Jadeveon Clowney, and they're just convinced that he's such a fit that it's going to continue to work. All good. All good. But I'm not as convinced of that as a lot of other people are. Nah, you know what? Maybe I'll take that back. I think that could work. And I would be in favor of it. I said that the wrong way. I'd be in favor of them bringing back Jadeveon Clowney.
Right. I think the hesitation is because you're going to have to pay him more this year, obviously.
Yes, correct.
And you hope that you get same or similar production, but it's going to feel like less production just because you're going to have to pay him more. And you expect, I guess more, even though we got him, like, Pro Bowl level production last season at a very cheap number,
Yeah, I mean, it'd be awesome to keep finding ways to get that, but I'm just not working under the assumption that you're going to find that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that you're just going to continuously find someone on the scrap heap that you're going to plug in. You can say, well, hey, it worked with Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy. Well, how did it work with Jason Pierre-Paul? Like, we just keep pretending that this is I'm worried about edge rush. Worried about it. I'm not running back. I'm just not. Because the track record of the NFL does not suggest that this is the way you need to go about doing your business. So that's where it is. And we'll see how the day plays out. We'll see how the week plays out. And they clearly have to do something. And it could be Derrick Henry. And then you guys would be pacified, I guess. I mean, there's real reporting about the Ravens and Derrick Henry. It's totally plausible. And the fact that he hasn't signed maybe suggests the market is tepid for Derrick Henry. I don't know how that makes me feel. But if you're getting him at the right number, okay. I'm not, the Geno Stone thing, we all knew that was coming. Geno Stone went out and had a bunch of interceptions last year and got paid. And maybe we'll find out 3 years down the road that Geno Stone was one of the better ball hawks in the NFL. My gut tells me that's not the case, and that a lot of it was more circumstantial, and that Geno Stone, who's a good football player, was able to get paid as an outstanding football player. And I'm happy for him because I like Geno Stone. Good guy. Great story. But understandable that the Ravens were never going to do that.
I was going to save it for tidbit, but the last time the Super Bowl was won in March. Never. It's never been won in March.
Hang on. No, you sure?
Yeah, it's never been won in March.
Yeah, I don't. That, but you do need to make moves.
Yeah.
Like, and those moves do
just
matter.
Not what the Ravens do.
I understand that, but to pretend like they have made moves that have been impactful. And other teams have too. And I do think that there will be teams that will benefit from moves that were made yesterday. I don't think it will be like, I don't think the Falcons are going to win the Super Bowl because they went and got Kirk Cousins.
Might win the division, though.
I'm jealous that the Vikings came away with Jonathan Greenard, but they don't. Right now, Sam Darnold's their quarterback. So, yeah, and yes, the Falcons might win their division because it's the worst division in football, perhaps. But, great, congratulations, you get to be the prettiest girl at fat camp. Like, don't get me wrong, it's better than being the ugliest girl at fat camp. I'll agree with that, but come on, man. I do think that, teams made moves. I don't know what to make of what Saquon Barkley is going to do for the Eagles. I really don't. I get it. On paper, you look at it and say, wow, how do you stop that? But really, on paper, how were they going to be stopped last year until they were stopped? Totally. In their tracks. Does Saquon Barkley make the entirety of the difference? I don't know. I mean, maybe? I don't feel strongly about it. Obviously, the Ravens did bring back Malik Harrison, so they've got that going for them. Malik Harrison's a versatile linebacker and, helps in special teams. Makes some sense that the Ravens wanted to bring back Malik Harrison. I don't have a whole lot to add to that. What am I supposed to say here? There's your game changer. I don't know, man. Everybody's obsessed with running back. We're obsessed with running back. And I'm just not. Because I don't think the NFL has dictated that the priority position has to be running back. And that sucks because I like running backs, as I've told you before. But I can't spit in the face of reality. I can't watch how the league has gone and said, well, I like running backs. I enjoyed watching Jamal Lewis growing up, so I think you should focus everything and prioritize the running back position. When the reality of the day suggests that's just not the way that it's worked. And I think you can get there by building up via committee, draft, undrafted, the whole thing. I think you should draft a running back every year. The Chiefs thought they had their guy in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right? Used an early asset. And then as it turns out, their featured running back, they got in the 7th round. Keep drafting them. All right, let's switch gears. Disappointing night in D.C. last night as Towson looked like they were finally going to get over the hump and then just kind of fell apart late and lost to Charleston, who will now play Stony Brook. Couldn't help but think about that in the CAA championship game. Joining us now, I know he's been down at the CAA tournament. Of course, our college sports guru, USA Lacrosse Magazine, Washington Post, at Discourse on Twitter. Mr. Patrick Stevens back with us as he is every Tuesday on GCR. Patrick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm well, Glenn. How are you?
I'm all right. That one will obviously sting for Towson. I don't know how you measure it against years where they had better teams and came up short, but it was right there for them last night.
Yeah, that was a meltdown. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. You're up 7 with 4 and change to go, and to not even have it come down to the final second. Charleston already had the lead well before that. Just not. Frankly, it was an example of a team like a Charleston that is very comfortable in any situation and will figure out a way to win. And a team like Towson that had some young players on the floor, that hasn't won a game like this in an eternity. This is 8 consecutive conference semifinal losses for Towson, a stretch that covers 4 different conferences. The Big South, the 3 conferences. The last time they won one was in the East Coast Conference in 1992. So it's a situation for Towson where I think in some ways, just for the way that the game went, when you're up 7 with 4 or so to go, that might sting a little more in the short term than being the 1 seed and losing in the semifinals a couple of years ago. I think in the long term, that one probably hurts a little bit more than last night. But that was a game Towson very much could have had and let slip away. And it turns out they would have been playing a team that was also playing 4 times in 4 days.
Yeah.
So that probably just makes it hurt even more.
I don't know, somebody will bring up, how does this continue to happen with Towson? And I don't know the answer, right? I think the nature of conference tournaments and playing games, I don't think they keep winning games, right? They are experiencing a stretch of overall success unlike anything they've ever seen in the history of the program. So for me to overreact to the postseason failures seems to spit in the face of reality, no?
Well, they do have a couple, you go back to the early 90s, they did have a couple NCAA tournament trips then. So, it was a shorter stretch of quality play. But to sit here and say that this is absolutely the golden age is a little bit of a stretch. That said, this is the most consistent the program has been over a long haul, pretty much since it went Division I. Conference tournaments are weird. They're one and done. And frankly, when you think about Towson, the reality is that in some years, and there were times last night where it felt, especially in the first half, where it felt this way, that it's a team that sometimes its best offense is a putback, is off of its own misses. And, they are a defense first, built on rebounding, physical, tough team. And, I have a firm belief, despite what the cliche is you have to score to win. It's not that defense wins championships. When you're playing good teams, you have to be able to score. And if you want kind of a through line there, you go back to that game 2 years ago against Delaware, and they scored 56 points. You look at last night, they scored 56 points. They were a little bit better against Charleston last year in the semifinals. And frankly, that was a better Charleston team, too. So, I don't think there was any shame in losing that particular game at all. But you've got to be able to score on a more consistent level. And at the end of the day, Towson's offense basically abandoned it over the last 4 minutes.
I do agree with that significantly. I think it was more they've never won 20 games in 3 straight seasons before in program history, right? And I don't think you can just throw that out and suggest that it doesn't mean anything because they've fallen short. Although I get it, that's how you're measured in college basketball at that level is do you win your conference tournament or not, because it's the only way you can get it.
And let's be honest too. There was a time where leagues were sort of what we would have thought of as normal size, between 8 and 10 teams.
Yeah. And
you get yourself into a 10-team tournament. Most of your league only had to win 3, not 4. And now, you look at the CAA, it's a 14-team league. And by the time Hofstra took the floor, I'm just doing the quick math here. By the time they took the floor against Delaware on Sunday night, by that point, there were already 9 teams that have been eliminated?
That's a great point.
Okay. Before they even did a walkthrough with the place probably that morning, I'm guessing they did it that morning, already 6 teams would have been gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you make things harder to be able to win a one-bid league when there's just more, traffic for all intents and purposes that you have to contend with.
As far as the other teams that are already out, the biggest story, of course, being Loyola, where not only are they eliminated, but a coaching change is on the way. I guess, give me a rundown. The Tavares Hardy era is a weird one because they did have some success, and they found, maybe the greatest player in Loyola history in the process, but throw in a fair amount of bad luck in there, and then they just never really got back after Santi Aldama disappeared.
Well, I wanna push back a little bit on what you just said about Santi Aldama being the best player, the greatest player or whatever, best player in program history. He played 27 games.
Fair,
and he was really,
yeah. And maybe I'm measuring most talented versus most accomplished, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with saying this is a guy that was a first round draft pick,
right,
and was obviously very talented and would have been a difference maker if he'd been healthy in his first year and the pandemic hadn't riled things in the second. But you could certainly say that between Santi Aldama and Cam Spencer, those are 2 of, at worst, the 3 best players that Loyola has had since it joined the Patriot League.
Sure.
At minimum, and probably the 2 best. And the fact that they only played in their 2 years together, 14 games together at the same time, between health and COVID and all that. Lost opportunities there for sure. And then obviously the wheels just kind of came off the wagon the last couple years. I mean, last year, I think that they did not have a replacement ready for Cam Spencer. Obviously Deion Perry played more and more and had a bigger role as the year went on. But then this year was just a mess. I mean, too many injuries and just too many non-competitive games. I mean, it's amazing to me that that's a team that didn't beat a Division I team at home until the last game of the regular season in March. So, I think that when I would for sure say that Tavares Hardy, offered some promise there, and the run to the Patriot League final in the COVID season of 2021, obviously a highlight. But to not be able to get into the top half of the league, the top seed that they had was a 6 2 years ago in Spencer's last season. Nobody's been able to do better than a 6 seed in a 10-team Patriot League in more than a decade. So, you start to wonder, is it the coach or is it the job? Can somebody kind of find a roadmap to success there? It's a completely fair question at this point. And whoever comes in is basically going to have to blaze their own trail. In fairness, was not necessarily the greatest year the Patriot League has enjoyed. I mean, I thought Colgate was not as good as last year, and they still won the league by 6 games again. So, I think there's room to make a jump, especially if you either hit the portal correctly or you're able to retain and rein in and focus some of the abilities of the guys that you still had here. But you also need some luck. And let's face it, like Tavares Hardy, between the pandemic, which affected everybody, between Aldama's injuries, between Cam Spencer being hurt some, between Spencer leaving, just did not catch very many breaks along the way. So, there's an alternate universe where the pandemic doesn't come along and those guys stay healthy. And we're talking about a Loyola team that probably finished in the top 2 or 3 of the league in back-to-back seasons at some point or another. So, or at least had a run in them in 2020 and then finished in the top 3. So I think that there's certainly some what-ifs to go into there, but also after 6 seasons, it's an understandable decision since they could not get into the top half of the league.
Obviously, now it's down locally to Maryland, Mount, and the MEAC. There's not really much to be said about Maryland, so what should be said about the Mount and the MEAC?
Coppin has not won a game in a while at this point, and they've only won 2 all season. So something tells me that they're probably not going to be able to go down to Norfolk and win, even though they did give Norfolk a nice run at home last month. But it's been since January 8th since Coppin's won a game, and my guess is that Wednesday night its season comes to an end. Morgan faces a Howard team that it's split with during the regular season, and if it wins that game, it probably sees Norfolk State, a team that it got swept by, but played tough at Hill Fieldhouse last month. So, I suspect that Morgan's season doesn't last beyond Friday, but it is a team that's had its moments. It beat North Carolina Central, it beat Howard, it beat South Carolina State. So it beat 3 of the top 4 teams in the league at least once. Just also been kind of ridiculously inconsistent, splitting with Eastern Shore and getting swept by Delaware State. And as for Mount St. Mary's, you almost feel like their last game kind of sums up their season. A team that, has had some impressive moments, but also its defense and its inability to take care of the ball have really done it in. They had a nice big, I think it was a 16-point halftime lead against Fairfield in the regular season finale, and then lost 96-92. So, they're in the 8-9 game against Canisius. They can beat anybody in that league. They can lose to anybody in that league, and maybe they wouldn't lose to Siena or Manhattan, but that's probably not going to be an issue. So, my guess is that there's a half decent chance that they go out and they split 2 games and wind up, maybe a little bit better off than they were last year, but certainly a maddeningly inconsistent team at times.
And then real quick, a thought on Lacrosse before we play our game. Army is the new number 1 team in the country, and they're obviously very good, and it's deserved given the circumstances. But is Army really the best team in the country?
No,
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And I would tell you right now, in my estimation, if you're asking me what my ballot would look like, it would be Notre Dame and then Duke. There's just, at the end of the day, there's a couple nice wins on Army's profile. They beat a Syracuse team that I'm still not entirely sure how good they are, though they just beat Johns Hopkins. And they beat a Rutgers team that I definitely don't know how good they are. So, I'm not sure there's a massive difference in a lot of this, but I still think that based on ability, that Notre Dame and Duke are the two best teams, and frankly, Virginia's probably up there as well.
Yeah, probably the case. Really weird that Maryland had to go to overtime to beat Brown on Saturday.
It was a really weird weekend, and not a great weekend in the Big Ten. When you look at Rutgers getting run by Princeton,
yep.
Ohio State loses at Notre Dame, but that's kind of what you would expect. Hopkins loses a toss-up to Syracuse. You had Maryland get the dickens scared out of them, and then you had Penn State just destroy Cornell 20-9, which was just one of those like, okay, and Michigan lost at home to Harvard, who's undefeated as well. But not a great weekend for that league. Doesn't necessarily mean any of those teams aren't good, but every game counts, and that's a 1-5 or a 2-4 weekend. And probably when it comes time to seeding and whatnot, losses like that, because you're about to just go play each other for the next 5 or 6 weeks here soon. You just kind of spin those things around and cycle them around in your RPI. Every loss hurts you just a little bit as you're going through league play as well.
All right, let's play our game. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB teams for this particular player or manager? We begin with our manager. I've got 4 teams for Jim Fregosi is the manager we'll go with this week.
4 teams for Jim Fregosi, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's work this thing in reverse. He was with Toronto.
He finished. Yep, that's correct. His last stop was in Toronto.
He was with the Phillies.
He certainly was 91 to 96 World Series appearance.
He was with the White Sox.
He was the White Sox 86 to 88.
And the Angels.
That's correct. 78 to 81. Very nicely done. Now, 5 teams for someone who you see on MLB Network now, and I think he was with Team Israel at the World Baseball Classic last year. Mark Loretta is our 5-team guy.
Mark Loretta,
2-time All-Star.
Well, I know he definitely had some good years with Milwaukee and San Diego.
So Milwaukee never made an All-Star appearance. He did make one of his 2 All-Star appearances with the Padres.
Okay. And that's the bulk of his career, if I recall.
It is correct.
Right
there is one other place where he spent more than one season.
All right. Well, I'm going to struggle, so let's just plow through this. Was he a Cub for a second?
Not a Cub, no.
Was he a Dodger?
He certainly was. At the end of his career in 2009, he was a Dodger.
And did he end up in Texas?
Not Texas, so close. It was Houston where he made his other All-Star appearance, and then Boston. No, sorry, it's actually Boston. His one season in 06 where he made his other All-Star appearance. And then I just saw that this person is now working as a pitching strategist for one of his former teams. 4 teams for the very popular and 2-time All-Star Sean Doolittle.
Sean Doolittle would be Oakland.
Yep.
The Washington Nationals.
Yep.
Seattle and Cincinnati.
Very nicely done. I assume the CA title game tonight?
Actually, we'll be headed to the ACC. So
got it.
ACC
Yeah.
gets underway down in DC. So that's where I will be for the duration.
Makes all the sense in the world. At Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter is how you follow him. Patrick Stevens, always appreciate you. We'll talk about the brackets next Tuesday.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Patrick Stevens with us as he is every Tuesday here on GCR. All right. Lot more to do on the program today. Today's show is also brought to you, of course, by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com, who brings you County Sports Zone, and we're going to be doing County Sports Zone Radio here in a few minutes. It is semifinal and finals week in the state high school basketball tournament. Semifinals get underway tonight. Championship weekend coming up this weekend. Get all of the scores, brackets, schedule, the whole thing. Countysports.zone. Countysports.zone is the way to find all of it. It's brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. I can touch on some other things from the world of free agency day one when we come back in, and then we will talk to Wes Brown about those state high school playoffs. That's on the way. Glenn Clark Radio.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and on the cover we look at the promise of spring for the Baltimore Orioles as Todd Karpovich and others shine the light on the team's hopes to take the next step towards championship contention and what reinforcements could still be coming. Plus, Pressbox personalities offer suggestions to David Rubenstein about stewarding the franchise. Also inside, Bo Smolka on how the Ravens defense could evolve with new coordinator Zach Orr. And we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's programs across the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along here on a Tuesday edition of the program. Goose Flight's Lager is available all over town. Available in cans at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, all the Glory Days Grill locations in the state of Maryland. Also at Alonzo's on Cold Spring Lane, as well as the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton. It is also available in cans and sixers at the Casa Sin in Dundalk, as well as at Guilford Hall Brewery. Sixers and cases are available at the Wine Source in Hamden. Goose Flight's Lager not only is a delicious beer, but it also goes to benefit those in need because $1.98 from every can sold goes to the Goose Flights Foundation and the work they're doing to provide non-emergency medical transport for those in need and remembering continuing the legacy of the great Tony Siragusa. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/gooseflights. So we continue to play the waiting game. It is weird, as was pointed out to me by a couple people. You want something that's weird, it's weird that we continue to know nothing about anything the Ravens are doing restructure or release-wise. Like, if you want something, it's not weird that the Ravens weren't very involved on day one of free agency. That's about right. It's weird that we still don't know what the plans are for the likes of Tyus Bowser, Pat Ricard, Morgan Moses. Like, it's weird that we don't know still how much of the offensive line needs to be replaced. We know officially that John Simpson won't be back. And
Good for him.
yeah, I mean, look, man, it was weird, but we were talking to Randy Mueller last week, and he was like, dude, I think John Simpson, I think he had him like number 30 on his list of like available free agents of all free agents in football. It's wild. And yes, as of right now, the Ravens are slated to get a lot of compensatory picks, although the one that was thought to be the highest compensatory pick is the guy that still hasn't signed yet. That's Patrick Queen. So don't know what that means about Patrick Queen's market either. Might mean nothing. It might just mean that he's waiting a day and enjoying his life. I don't know.
He knows nothing's official until tomorrow anyway.
Yeah, so what the hell are we doing here? Like, we can't do anything. That part is odd. I can't get around that. It's strange to me that the Ravens haven't done any work in that department yet. What does it mean? I had somebody ask me last night, is it possible that they tried to say go to Morgan Moses, and Morgan Moses said, go ahead and release me? And because of that, they just said, all right, we're not doing anything there? Same thing with I guess it's possible that they just said, hey, we don't have any interest in losing more of our offensive linemen. Or it's possible they just knew they weren't going to be involved in the first day of free agency anyway, and they're still trying to make something work. Like, they're still trying to continue negotiating with Morgan Moses, and so, they're dragging this out further. There's a lot of things that are possible in this process where any of us would just be, wildly throwing out something. But they only needed to get cap compliant for the start of free agency, and the Madubuike thing did that. So they didn't need to do anything else immediately. We just figured they kind of would to get the whole picture of what this is going to be out of the way at once. And I still can't come up with why they – like, the Tyus Bowser one is the one that's the most puzzling, right? Like, because you can make the argument that Morgan Moses maybe says no to you. Like, you went to Morgan Moses. He said, nah, go ahead and release me. And you were like, no. We're not doing that.
Called their bluff.
But you can't really do the same with Tyus Bowser. Like, you can't buy that with Tyus. And everybody knows how much I like Tyus personally, but it's funny, we were talking to Jonas Schaefer the other day. He's like, well, I don't want to. I'm like, Jonas, we're adults here. We can have conversations. I can both like someone personally and also understand how this works. Like, I know my son is not a very good lacrosse player, so when he decided he wanted to stop playing lacrosse, I was like, it's okay. It's not your strength. I'm good with that.
There's a lot of time to...
Yeah, well, he wants to play baseball. That's fine. It's totally fine. I'm happy to have him play baseball. It's weird, right? It's weird. I feel like it's not that you set yourself up in a bad situation, because it's not, and it's important that we say that. If the Ravens really liked someone that was going to cost a certain amount of money, I have no doubt that they would go back. 'Cause even, again, the Lamar Jackson restructure would clear another $10 million. They don't even have to, play the game with somebody else. They can just shuffle the numbers around, do some fuzzy math with Lamar Jackson, and you're good to clear even more cap space. Part of it is just we want to know. It really is. And maybe they've decided that they're going to do what they normally do. They're not going to sign players that weren't cut. Like, they're going to go the cut route in order to find players. I think it's why so many of us were intrigued when Aaron Jones was cut yesterday. Like, well, you mean to tell me the Ravens going to dress running back and not have it impact compensatory? That sounds like something they would do. Ultimately, it's not what they did. And I I feel like it's so, because I want to, hang on a second. Let me think through this. I know I talk for a living, and I'm kind of all over the place here. But I want to be careful about what I'm saying, because I've never been okay with their strategy just being we never sign players. And that's not fair, because they have, right? Like Marcus Williams was very early in free agency signing. Like it's not like they've never signed anyone at the start of free agency. And if the right player is the guy that's available at the start of free agency, I am not subscribed to well, that's not how the Ravens do business. That's not what they should do. I don't feel that way. I love Jonathan Greenard, right? Like, I would have been all in on the Ravens signing Jonathan Greenard. All in. And I've never felt as married to the compensatory pick formula as they have. Like, the sheer number of picks that they would be in line to get right now goes beyond all reality in terms of what you could do putting players on a roster. You don't have double-digit roster spots available for draft picks. Which doesn't mean that you might not have 8. But you don't have 12 spots available for draft picks on your roster. It's never worked that way. So I don't feel as enamored by those thought processes as the Ravens have in their history. But I also don't feel like you have to just be reckless in the name of being reckless either. There is somewhere between those two things. I think the Ravens still have a need at edge rush. They didn't address it in the first 24 hours of free agency. It needs to be addressed. And if we get a couple weeks in and it hasn't been, then I'm going to be singing a different tune at that point. If we look around and there ain't anything left, and I assure you, the way that I'm going to sound is going to be much different.
Now, what if, Shaq Barrett's still out there?
Yeah, then I won't feel that way. Like, it's going to be, let's look around at what does the landscape look like next week when we have this conversation, because the Ravens needed to do something at edge rush. I would have liked for them to do more at running back, not Josh Jacobs, not that price more, but as I said before, Gus Edwards, Zach Moss. But at no point am I going to be panicked about running back. They have a draft. There are ways to go about addressing running back. They could still bring back Dalvin Cook, who a lot of you loved when they signed Dalvin Cook, but suddenly
Dobbins and
yes, like that's all still there. I'm not going to panic about that, but I might panic about edge rush. Like that to me is I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like I'm the only person that's talking about it.
I mean,
it's so weird.
I just think that they know what they know what they like doing with edge rush, and wait until August 31st.
I think that's insanity. I think it's insanity
it is.
to operate under that.
And they just had the best defense, one of the best defenses ever.
Fine. God bless. I'm glad that it worked. Papa bless. I'm so happy that it worked out for them. I don't feel like that's the way that you go about doing your business at edge rush. Not at edge rush. It worked out for you, but I think that's a miracle, not a plan. It's championship week in high school basketball here in the state of Maryland. Let's find out what's coming up this week as the semifinals get underway tonight. Joining us now from countysports.zone, he is our friend, Mr. Wes Brown. Wes, good morning. How are you?
Muted. Hold on.
Oh, okay. We got to get
Good.
Wes. Hey,
Good, how are you?
What's up, buddy? Everything good?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so obviously busy time. Let's run through the big headlines to this point as we get into the semifinals in boys and girls basketball.
Yeah, so last week, over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, we had the state quarterfinal games. Part of that is, sometimes teams make it through their region without necessarily facing the same test that they might have to. And we kind of saw that with Queen Anne's County versus Carver-Votech. Home team, Queen Anne's, was losing 47-15 when, another pass got stolen, taken in for a layup. But there was a hard intentional foul. Players came together, a lot of pushing and shoving that ended up in the game being called. Carver advanced. People were some were worried about, if they got in a fight, would they be disqualified, all this kind of stuff. But they advanced, so all that sort of settled. And then we had a number of close games as well. Whitman boys over Laurel by 1 point, Northeast over Patterson by 4 points, Richard Montgomery boys over Bowie by 3 points, and then North Point girls pulled off an upset of Western in Baltimore, 48 to 42. So should be hopefully some more interesting semifinal games, but 32 teams fighting for 16 spots here this weekend.
Is there anything like on paper? Just because I don't know, is there anything that like those of you that are in the know, you look at it in the semifinals, you look at it and say, oh, that one looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna be in there tonight for Largo boys and Bethesda Chevy Chase girls at North Point.
Okay.
Yeah, those should be two pretty good games. Also Hammond girls and Gwynn Park girls also at North Point on Wednesday should be another good one too. We've talked about Hammond and their rise this year, and Gwynn Park's a team who's been running through some teams 108-3 and whatnot in the postseason, so it should be two heavyweights there.
All right, athlete of the week for this week.
Yeah, Darielle Weems from Pikesville, 16 points and 11 rebounds in their state quarterfinal win. Pikesville's been sort of a postseason machine here in the last few years. They won the year before COVID, and then obviously the 2020 and 2021 there weren't state championships, and they've won the last two since then. So seeking a four-peat with it, which it's just been since 2019. So basically a 5-6 year run here in the state playoffs. So she's definitely going to be a key part of that.
He is Wes Brown. It's County Sports Zone Radio. It's brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com, who, of course, brings us County Sports Zone. Wes, so run me through again the rundown for this week, like the totality of semifinals and then when the championship games are this weekend in College Park. Yeah,
so tonight and tomorrow are all the state semifinal games at neutral sites. So they try and find some schools that are, in the middle of everything. We've got like Thomas Johnson and Frederick, Montgomery Blair, North Point, Wise, schools like that are kind of central points here. Tuesday, Wednesday, there's basically 2 games at each site.
Okay.
These days. They're going to clear the gyms between both. So if there's, any games you want to go to, you got to get tickets for both of them. But yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday for the semifinals, and then everyone who wins will advance to states. Friday and Saturday at the University of Maryland. We've got 3 games Friday night and then 5 games all day Saturday to get all 8 champions crowned. And
then we're right into spring sports season after that. Like as we talked about last week, spring sports season has already started at the private school level, right? Like we're right in. There is no respite as soon as the state basketball tournament is over.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So the MIA lacrosse obviously started a couple weeks ago. You got teams that are traveling all over, playing some national schedules here. The public schools start next Thursday, and it's interesting because you're going to have some of these MIA teams playing scrimmages against public school teams, right, despite them being in the middle of their season. So starting next week, we'll obviously have a lot more to cover on there. And we're in the process of getting all those schedules up for this spring.
By the way, it's even more awkward than that, right? Because like you have to make it very clear that they're scrimmage. It's such a weird. In working with some local programs, the levels of weird when it comes to those circumstances are really bizarre. All right, Wes, run down everything that people are going to find at County Sports Zone during championship week.
Yeah, so we have our pick'em games back up here for the semifinals, and we'll have a slate for every single championship game this weekend. So be sure to tap in there and swipe for who you think is going to win each championship. And on top of that, scores and schedules. We have all the past stuff from the winter season, fall season. If there's anything you want to look back on, and we'll have all the scores and schedules updated here for the spring as well. So you can find us on at CSC Scores on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I'm at W_Brown21.
I'll always appreciate it, Wes. We'll look forward to recapping championship weekend with you next Tuesday. Thanks for hopping on with us this morning.
Yep,
man.
Thank you.
It's Wes Brown, County Sports Zone, countysports.zone, as always brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. We are winding down hour number 1 of the program, and I can, hear the plate sizzling right now. I can just... It's hard for me to even talk about Ruth's Chris without just, salivating a little bit when I do. Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver to you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now, ruthschris.com. When we come back in, we're going to chat with Bo Smolka, and we're going to chat with our friend Derrick Mason, get some more thoughts on Derrick Henry, who's still available. How hard should the Ravens be going in the paint to bring in Derrick Henry? We'll do all of that next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we move towards hour number 2 of the program. If you missed it yesterday, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson got together to talk about the Orioles. Stan's down in Sarasota. Luke's headed there. You can watch them every Monday, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And if you miss it live, you can check it out, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Joining us now, he is our PressBox Ravens beat writer. Talk about all the many things that the Ravens are doing. They brought back Malik Harrison. He's Bo Smolka, and he's with us here on GCR. Bo, good morning. How are you, my friends?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. Look, man, there's nothing all that weird to me about the fact that the Ravens haven't done anything yet. What's weird is, are you as confused as I am about why they haven't, restructured anyone yet or released anyone yet? That's the only part of this that's weird to me.
Yeah, I did. I expected some of those things to happen, the bookkeeping kind of things that they do in advance of, quote, free agency. Now, getting the Matabike deal done shifted the money a little bit. They were able to clear $11 million or so on this year's cap. So that was one thing that imminently that they were able to do, and then that kept them from having to do other things kind of emergently. But yeah, I expected some moves to happen, and I am somewhat surprised that they didn't yet.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it other than, again, they are cap compliant because of the Matabike, so they just don't feel like that. It's still weird. I can't imagine they're not doing I've always thought it was kind of absurd. Like every circumstance is unique. It's absurd to me the way that we've all just assumed that you just cut Tyus Bowser because if he's physically capable of playing football, there's no market for him. He's not going to go sign somewhere. So if he's going to count $2 million in dead space against your cap and he's physically capable of playing, which is a huge if, but if he is, then you let him run around for you for $2 million because he's going to cost you the $2 million anyway. I guess it's possible that like Morgan Moses, they went to him and he said, "No, I'm good. I'll go be a free agent." And they said, "Whoa, we don't want that." But like the Tyus Bowser one, it's bizarre. There's no market there. You just go ahead and say, "Dude, you're going to play for $2 million if you can play."
I expected that one to happen, and I guess it still might. That thing has just been one big kind of question after another for 12 months now.
Yeah, you're telling me.
So we'll see what happens with him. And Moses is another one that I know. I talked to Moses after the season. He talked about it looked like he was probably going to have surgery, and he's looking forward to this year. But there's money to be saved there, and they haven't done anything there. I know a lot of people are expecting Ronnie Stanley possibly to be a situation, but remember, if they were to do something with Ronnie Stanley, if they were to cut him even as a post June 1 and have to, then you still need to find a left tackle, by the way. And I know everyone's talking about the running back picture and the receiver picture and all of that, which is fair, but you still need offensive linemen. And they've lost John Simpson. They didn't re-sign Zeitler. There's questions with Moses and with Stanley. So the offensive line remains a big question.
Do you feel like that I think a lot of people have come to Derrick Henry or bust when it comes to the running back market, Bo. I'm in a weird place with this because I'm not opposed to Derrick Henry if he's at the right number, if the market just hasn't, been what maybe some people thought it might be for Derrick Henry. I'm not saying that it would be a terrible thing for the Ravens to have Derrick Henry. I told you this a couple weeks ago. I don't feel about running back the way that a lot of people feel about running back. I would have liked for the Ravens to bring back Gus Edwards. I thought that would have made sense. I thought Zach Moss's number would have made a lot of sense for the Ravens to do that. But outside of that, I don't know, a group that's J.K. Dobbins back, maybe Dalvin Cook back, Keaton Mitchell's going to be back at some point next season, and a drafted running back. It doesn't seem like the end of the world to me. I think that's what we've learned about the running back position is that the team that won the Super Bowl last year had a featured back that was a 7th-round pick. I just don't think it requires these massive assets.
Well, that's what I think they're thinking. And, they're saying right player, right price. And so they can look at all those guys and decide what the right price for them would be. But to your point, I mean, Gus Edwards was an undrafted guy. Keaton Mitchell was an undrafted guy. Justice Hill was, day 3 guy. They invested at J.K. Dobbins as a 2nd-round pick, and it would be interesting to see if after all this shakes out, J.K. Dobbins is right back here on a 1-year deal, which would be kind of surprising. But again, it feels like he probably wants to be elsewhere, but the market's going to be what it's going to be for him, and I think they probably have a number on Derrick Henry, and they're willing to go that far with it and no higher. That's how they always operate, and if that works out, great. But you're right. I think the league has shown that running backs can be found everywhere in the draft and in free agency, and you can succeed there. And that honestly, I thought you would think that would not bode well for the free agent running back scene. The free agent running back market moved quickly yesterday, which I think was one of the things that surprised people. But I was not surprised that the Ravens weren't jumping right in because that's not how they operate.
He is Bo Smolka, Pressbox Ravens beat writer. He's with us here on GCR. Bo, the area that is not being discussed at all, that is so bizarre to me, is edge rush. I am befuddled by why the panic from this fan base is about running back and not in the edge rush department, where you were able to pull a total rabbit out of your hat a season ago, but even that's gone now. And I get it. Adafe Owe in some areas had a decent season a year ago. I think they still have some hopes in David Ajabo, but, like, it desperately feels like this team needs a real answer as far as an edge rusher is concerned. And maybe that still ends up being a reunion with Jadeveon Clowney, but it's weird to me that there's so little discussion about that topic.
We had this exact same discussion, last April?
Yeah.
Right? We're still the exact same discussion, and you're right. They got more than they could have hoped for out of Clowney and Van Noy, and now they're right back there because they're both free agents again, and there's still another question about Ajabo. And Bowser is whatever he is. He may or may not even be here. And Owe, they continue to sing his potential without a ton of production yet. So we are almost exactly in the same spot we were a year ago with the edge rushers. Now, obviously, they know Clowney better. Clowney knows the Ravens better. It could still happen again between the two sides. But until it does, you're right. It's a fair question that right now it looks like a really, really big hole.
It really, really is coming into the world of bizarre for me. And then, of course, the other hole is at guard. Bo, have you worked under the assumption that the Ravens would say we have the internal options? Like, Ben Cleveland is the way that it's not the outside options that we're worried about. We drafted these guys over the years, and at some point they have to play for us. Andrew Voorhees in that conversation, Saleh, Daniel Faalele. Do you feel like they believe that their offensive line options are more internal than they might be external?
Well, I mean, it's tricky because, they let Zeitler go. He would have been, he would have cost something, but they ate $4 million in dead money in letting him go, and on those void year deals. So now they've lost Simpson, who signed with the Jets. So that's an interesting one, whether they'll go address that position early in the draft, whether they look for a value guy like basically John Simpson was last year. That those guys will be out there. I do think they feel highly about Voorhees, but that's he was John Harbaugh told me last year they had a 3rd round grade on him before he got hurt at the combine, and then they traded back into the draft to get him in the 7th round or whatever. So they knew that last year was going to be a lost year with him. But they do have a high hopes for him. But again, it's now a full year away since he's been on the field, and there's a lot to kind of make up there with him. Ben Cleveland, this is his year for him. I mean, it's time to prove it for him, and I think they like what they saw from him at times when he got in there. Yeah. But I would be surprised if they're going into this year without some veteran, a John Simpson type guy brought on board. And then they still might look at that position further in the draft. But let's face it. I mean, those are guard. A lot of people don't. Guard is a big deal. Guard's a big deal when you want to run the ball and when you have this offense. And they're now missing both their starters from last year.
Bo, in general, this is a team that doesn't get involved, right? Like, historically, it's not like they've never, but more often than not, they're not involved in the first couple of days. Do you sense that there will be activity this week, whether that is Derrick Henry? Do you sense that, like, they are going to address something? It just was never going to be on day one because that's not the way that the Ravens do business.
Yeah, I probably would. I think that's typical of how they do it. I mean, I do think they'll probably be it's funny. I always say it's like the shiny new TV at Christmas shopping, right? They let the people rush through the store, grab the stuff, and then they kind of wait. And when the prices come down, there they are ready to go. And in this case, the price comes down. All that frenzy happens in the first 36 hours, 20 hours or whatever. And then by Thursday, they're shopping and there's people there that, right player, right price kind of thing. And yeah, I do expect some move will be made. I don't think they'll stand pat. They're losing a lot of players, and whether that's a re-sign of their own,
right,
or I know they brought in Malik Harrison. I actually thought they might bring back Delshon Phillips, but now I see he's going away. These are not high-profile guys, but they're the glue guys that they like on special teams and so forth. But whether it's Arthur Millette or one of these guys that comes back, but I know a lot of people are looking at Dobbins, Clowney. I don't think we're looking at a reunion with Kevin Zeitler because it would cost. If they were going to do that, you'd think they'd do it without having to eat $4 million on top of whatever they would pay him. But I do think there will be some signing here in the next couple of days.
And then, at some point, the wide receiver topic has to be broached, right? Like, even if you moved on from Odell Beckham, and I think that there will be people that will say, hey, it's not the end of the world to lose Devin Duvernay, but at some point you look around again and all of a sudden you say, hey, remember all that depth that you built up? It's a little bit thinner all of a sudden again in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, although Duvernay really never fit in the offense last year. I mean, he had 4 catches for the whole season. Beckham would be. Then you're back to hoping Bateman is what they keep saying he's going to be, and Zay Flowers, Aguilar, and again, you're probably looking at bringing in another Aguilar type. They do it every year. And will they invest in a first-round receiver again? That would surprise me, but when you're picking way down at the bottom of the first round, it's so tricky to see how that board's going to fall along the way. But yeah, depth of the receiver position certainly will come up again, and it always does with these guys.
Yeah, it's been a constant topic over the years, Bo. All right, well, we're going to let this thing continue to play out, and then we'll check back in with you after the Ravens do whatever they might do over the course of the next week. At B Smolka on Twitter, as always, is how you can follow him. PressBoxOnline.com is where you can read all of his stuff. Bo, appreciate you hopping on for a couple minutes this morning. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
All right, Glenn, thanks. Take care.
It's Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer, with us here on GCR. It's not been a busy day specifically, and part of that is because there was so much yesterday that it couldn't nearly be as busy today as it was yesterday. Marcus Mariota is going to go to the Commanders, so there's that. If that does something for you.
Commanders are building something. Eckler, Mariota.
Sure.
And then what?
I saw
KJ
Darius
McCarthy.
Oh yeah, it could be. I saw Darius Williams is going back to the Rams. So of course was briefly a Raven at one point, and was a very helpful piece for the Jaguars. Not a big day today as far as news.
Delshon Phillips.
As far as the Ravens, that Bo mentioned that Houston, right? That's where Delshon Phillips.
Yes,
Houston. It's where he ends up, and he was a helpful special teams piece for them. Like I think it's one of the things that somebody would say Delshon Phillips, Delshon Phillips was a key special teams contributor for the Ravens a year ago, so I don't think that's nothing at all. Superbook.com, download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, with Superbook. Nothing that's happened so far seems to have significantly changed anything odds-wise. As far as we look at futures, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Ravens are still the 3 Super Bowl favorites, as they were before free agency news began. So for as much as you guys are going crazy about the Eagles signing Saquon Barkley and Bryce Huff, and again, I got no beef with either of those moves, I would tell you that the Eagles still sit at 18-1. According to Superbook, to win the Super Bowl next year, behind the likes of the Cowboys and the Packers. So, just a note as we look at those things. If you say, well, I think that Saquon Barkley really moves the needle, so I think that number should change dramatically, well, then maybe you want to get in. Again, it's Superbook.com, or download the Superbook app. Use that code, GlennClark23. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, from Superbook. So the name that everybody's zeroing in on in Baltimore is now Derrick Henry, because he's the guy that's left, and we know that there is interest, and according to some reports, mutual interest between the Ravens and Derrick Henry. What is Derrick Henry at this point? Well, if there's one man I want to call to find out that answer, it is, of course, our friend, Baltimore Ravens legend, now talk show host down in Nashville. He is the great Derrick Mason, and he's back with us here on GCR. Mace, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up, brother. Thank you for spending some time for us.
No problem at all, especially this time of year. I know how, it can be. So, thank you for having me on to talk a little football.
Always appreciate you.
Free agency frenzy.
It is, yes. It's our second favorite sport all year long, off-season football. That's the way that it goes. Mace, I ask it broadly, right? In 2024, what is Derrick Henry at this point in his career?
I think Derrick Henry is still a damn good runner. He may not be the best complete running back, and we know catching the football out the backfield as well. But if you're just talking complete runner, just pure running the football, Derrick Henry is still the best runner of the football in the National Football League.
Do you feel like he would make, knowing what you know about Lamar Jackson, how much sense would Derrick Henry make to you for the Baltimore Ravens at this point?
He'll make a lot of sense to me because it takes the pressure off of Lamar to be the end-all, be-all. They got them a hell of a weapon in Zay Flowers on the outside, and then Andrews at tight end. You need a guy in the backfield, a guy that's been consistent, a guy that's been durable. They've had some really good backs there in Baltimore. Gus Edwards to name one of them, J.K. Dobbins as well. But those guys were in and out of the lineup because of them being hurt. I wish we could have seen a lot more J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
But because of the position and whatnot, he's been hurt. At least last year he was hurt the whole season. So what you're getting in Derrick Henry is a guy that's durable. He missed half of the season 2 years ago with a foot injury, but came back and still was effective. He was on pace to get another 2,000-yard season. He would have been only back, I believe, in NFL history for the second back to have back-to-back 2,000-yard rushing years. And he still has it in him. You got to understand, he averaged over 4 yards per carry last year. He was well over 1,000 yards with an offensive line that may have been the worst in the National Football League. So that speaks volumes of Derrick Henry and what he's still capable of doing. He's just one of those players, sort of like Adrian Peterson. It seems like the older he gets, he figures out another way, he figures out another gear, and he's still a very highly productive back.
Mace, is there any chance that, I think one of the things that's been talked about a lot over the years in Tennessee is the teams utterly stack the box against Derrick Henry because, they didn't always respect what the Titans might do otherwise, and Derrick Henry was that good. If you're putting him in a Ravens offense with Lamar Jackson's threat to run and with, his ability to get the ball outside and a Mark Andrews on the field and a Zay Flowers on the field, do you feel like that's even better because teams wouldn't be able to stack the box against Derrick Henry?
Well, they can try if you want to, but, he's been known to, even when you stack the box, you better get him on that first line because if you don't get him on that first line of tacklers, he may be to the house because it's going to be hard for a secondary guy to come up and tackle a guy that big.
Right.
So, for the Baltimore Ravens, if indeed they do sign Derrick Henry, like I said, it takes the pressure off of Lamar Jackson to be the end-all, be-all in that offense. Not only a superb passer, but he then also has to be a runner as well in their offense. And again, it's not taken away from what Gus Edwards did last year or what J.K. Dobbins was able to do when he was healthy, but having Derrick Henry in the backfield is a lot different from having those two guys. I respect those guys that did a good job, but there's a difference between having a Derrick Henry in the backfield and having, just somebody else in the backfield. And I think he would bring that ability. If you're going to stack the box, then Lamar has proven himself as a passer, and he has, like I said, he has two hell of a weapons, and I know they're going to add more. As Zay Flowers and Andrews, they're just going to add more to the mix. So go ahead and stack the box, and Lamar's going to beat you on the outside. If you want to, play a zone defense, then that's when Derrick Henry thrives as a runner. But either way, whether you stack the box or not, I think Derrick Henry will be effective. Now, the issue may be is that the Baltimore Ravens are having turnover on the offensive line.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be the same offensive line from last year that was so good. So they got to, if they do get Derrick Henry or whoever they get, they're going to have to solidify that offensive line so the running back can have room to run and that you protect your quarterback.
Yep, to your point, John Simpson already gone. We're expecting Kevin Zeitler to be gone already, just those two, and there's still a thought about maybe both of the tackles in their future in Baltimore. Derrick Mason is with us here on GCR. Derrick, I feel like there's a conversation, and we have it here a lot, about just is it worth spending real money? And I don't know what the market's going to end up saying for Derrick Henry. The fact that he didn't sign immediately maybe says that we're not talking about like an 8-figure type of number for Derrick Henry. But there's an argument that at this point in the NFL, you just don't spend those type of assets at running back. And this is tough for me because, as you know, like I come from your era, right? Like I grew up obsessed with watching the likes of Eddie George and Jamal Lewis and Corey Dillon and Fred Taylor. Like it was, and Jerome Bettis and all the, like, it was a golden era of running the football for me as I, fell in love with football. But there is an argument that it's just not the way that you go about building a team anymore, that you just don't you find a running back in the draft, you find an undrafted guy, you go that route and you make it work. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl. Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th-round pick. What do you make of, hey, it's just not worth spending assets. You can spend the money better than prioritizing running back?
Well, I get the argument, but, you still need someone in that backfield to take pressure off your quarterback. You need someone in that backfield that when you're in your 4-minute offense, that he can eat up at least 3 minutes or close to 4 minutes of that time clock. You need a guy like that, and Derrick Henry is one of those type of guys. Listen, the Baltimore Ravens are damn close to winning the Super Bowl. And if Derrick Henry is that one guy that can tip the scale, you pay him the money that he wants, because ultimately you're going to get back 20-fold what you paid Derrick Henry if you win a Super Bowl. So I can see if they were, a young team and they were still building and they needed more than just 1 or 2 players. But no, Baltimore's on the fringe. I thought they should have won it last year, or at least been in it last year, but unfortunately they were not. But they're a fringe team right now. When I mean a fringe team, they're that team that can, everyone's looking for them to be an AFC Championship game. But what tips them over? What tips the scale over? A Derrick Henry type of player, that if you put him in that offense with Lamar, with Zay, with Andrews, and the other guys that they have, once you solidify the offensive line, he is a tail skipper. He is a scale tipper, excuse me. He's the guy that's going to tip the scale for you on a positive end. So to me, this is a situation where if you got to pay a little bit more, then you pay that little bit more, because on the other side that you're going to get more than you ever dished out to the running back.
I think it's a fair argument. I think that's very, very fair. You mentioned like closing the gap, Mace. Like I hate reminding you of this, but you know a thing or two about heartbreak. Like,
yes.
You went through a few close calls. What do you think it does for Lamar Jackson, having been there, having won in the playoffs, and had everything in front of him, to have it end the way that it did this year, where it looked like, what do you think that does for him? And as disappointing as everybody was, like, I everything about this young man says to me that, like, this fuels him in a way that no one could ever possibly imagine, that he is a hell-bent individual because of what occurred this year.
Yeah, it's going to fuel him. He's one of the best players, not just quarterback. He's one of the best players in the National Football League. He's a top 10 player when you're talking about just all-around players. He's one of those guys. And when you get to a point and you can't get over that hump, you come back the next year and you're hungrier than ever. You find something that fuels you, and that will fuel, and it has been fueling Lamar, for the last couple of years. To me, that's why I said, if you have an opportunity to get a Derrick Henry type of player, then you do whatever you can within reason, but you do whatever you can to make sure that you get that type of player and team him up with your quarterback, because it's not guaranteed that you're going to make it back to the AFC Championship every year. It's not guaranteed you're going to make it to the playoff. That division is getting stronger and stronger. And if you can add somebody like Derrick Henry to your roster, it keeps you in the mix. It keeps you ahead of those teams. Because right now with Cincinnati and Cleveland, in Pittsburgh, with what they did, we're finally going to get a quarterback. Now they're closing that gap with Baltimore, and Baltimore got to stay ahead. And staying ahead means possibly getting a guy like Derrick Henry that you can turn around. No matter if they have an 8-man, 9-man box, you can still turn around and hand him the football and trust that he's going to get you positive yards. So I think this past season, along with last season for Lamar, I think these past 2 seasons have fueled him, and it's going to make him a better quarterback headed into the 2024-25 season.
I think it's fair to say this is a ringing endorsement from Derrick Mason about the idea of Derrick Henry being a Baltimore Raven. I think that we can.
Hey, why not have another Derrick in Baltimore?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. I guess we didn't look at it's worked out pretty well. The history. I guess Derrick Martin was here. Derrick Martin won 2 Super Bowls, neither one of which were with the Ravens. Go figure that out.
Yeah.
But yes, there is a history of success of bringing a Derrick out of Tennessee and putting him in Baltimore. I don't mind following up on that. Mace, if it happens, we'll be checking in more. Always appreciate you.
Exactly.
Everything else good in your world?
Everything is well. Just enjoying my son DJ's back home for spring break. He graduates this year from Boston University, so I'm excited. His mom is excited as well as his sister. So we're just enjoying the time and just working and enjoying finally that the weather is starting to break here in Nashville. So today is supposed to be in the 70s all next week, close to 80.
Thanks,
so I'm
thanks
good.
for that. Yeah, thanks for that, man. We got daylight savings time,
My fault, guys.
bro.
My fault.
Bro, I woke up on Sunday like, oh, thank God, it's daylight savings time. Spring's already here, and then it was so effing windy that I nearly was blown into like Cockeysville. It was insane, man. I always appreciate you, bro. Love you, dude. You're the best, and let's talk again real soon. Thanks for hopping on. All right?
No doubt. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, folks.
That's my guy, Derrick Mason. Love him, and obviously very much in favor of Derrick Henry. And again, as I said before, I think don't misread what I'm saying. I'm not saying no to Derrick Henry. This is not me saying I'm hellbent against it at a number. And this is how we preface this today. The conversation we had with Femi last week I thought was very fair. What's the actual difference between the number for Gus Edwards and the number for Derrick Henry? Because as I said, if we're talking about, Gus Edwards would have been 4.5 and Derrick Henry would have been 10, I don't think he's worth, more than twice as much. So I was opposed to that level of compensation. But if the number is coming back, if that's really what's going on here, I agree. And particularly if it's a short-term deal, particularly if it's there is the argument for there's no such thing as a 1-year deal. The Ravens gave Odell Beckham $15 million last year, and I'm not mad about it, despite the fact that production-wise, he wasn't a $15 million player. I think that it was worth it. This isn't even, we're not even talking about a $15 million player. If the number is more reasonable, I'm not going to be angry about it. Now, again, Gus Edwards was, $3.25 million per year? So it's still the same conversation. If Derrick Henry's $6.5 million, which was what this weird report out of Cleveland was, we're going to find ourselves saying, was Derrick Henry worth twice as much as Gus Edwards? The way that Derrick Mason describes it, he thinks so. Time will tell. But it's not me saying I'm opposed to it. It's me saying if it's not Derrick Henry, I'm not going to panic. I'm not flipping out about it. If it's Derrick Henry, let's go. Let's go. Giddy up. But if it's not, we're going to be all right. I just think you can address running back without having to spend serious assets. And if those assets go to places that I believe are bigger areas of need, then I'll be all right with that. All right, we got a couple of special guests who are scheduled to join us. Oh, are they good? You tell me, Griffin. You're the producer of the show. I just the guy that sits here and does the yakety yak. All right, so we're waiting on. We're supposed to have 2 guests joining us this morning. We're waiting on a second one, so we'll pause for a second. Let me just reset a couple of things really quickly that I haven't had a chance to chat about. Obviously, we talked college basketball with Patrick earlier today. Towson's out. They fall short. It's a big bummer, huge bummer, really a bummer. If you didn't watch the game, it was in their control. Just massive bummer. In fact, if they had won, I was going to suggest we go down there tonight. I was going to suggest we go.
I mean, I was going for sure. I was making my plans as the game was going on, even though, what a.
Yeah, that one stings. That one stings. There's no way around that. And so now on the local front, we are down to, as we mentioned with Patrick, the Mount plays tonight to open up the MAC tournament, and then the MEAC teams, I believe, Coppin is Wednesday, and then Morgan will be after that. And Maryland plays on Wednesday night, but they don't have much of a chance either. So that's what you're down to on the local front on the men's side. On the women's side, as I mentioned yesterday, Loyola, number 1 seed in the Patriot League. They won their quarterfinal. They're in good shape. They have a great chance to get through. The Maryland women will be in. They are going to get into the NCAA tournament. Just don't know exactly like what their seeding will be and what their chances are going to be of making any sort of run. But there was some jeopardy late in the season about whether or not they get in by virtue of their win over Ohio State. They will get in the NCAA tournament. So that's the sort of rundown as far as college basketball is concerned. All right, let's go ahead, and then we'll start with our friend Jack Palmer. It's a really neat story on the local front that I wanted to spend some time talking about this morning, as the Evans Scholar Program has been around for a little while, and it's a really remarkable way to honor some folks in the game of golf who deserve it. And Shawntae Wilson, who's a caddy at Baltimore Country Club, was honored as this year's Evans Scholarship recipient. And I want to talk a little bit more about the program and what it means and how it benefits everyone. So we'll first welcome on this morning, Jack Palmer is with us. Jack Palmer from the WGA. And Jack, remind me, you are local as well, correct?
Muted.
Jack, I apologize. You're muted. Can we get you to unmute yourself? This is always, the perils sometimes. Is we good? Jack, can you hear me okay? All right. All right, we'll get this settled. I promise. Unfortunately, sometimes the best laid plans don't always come to fruition. And it's the way that it goes, and we try to get things settled a little bit. Jack Palmer from the WGA is with us this morning, and we're going to be talking about this. And we are trying to do it. We want you to see their beautiful faces. That's the way that it goes. Oh, Shawntae's here as well. Do we want to go to Shawntae first? Is that the way we should do it?
Both should be ready, I think.
Both are ready. All right, let's try to go to Jack because we try to go to Jack. Jack, you there? We got you?
I'm here.
Awesome. Jack, thanks so much for taking the time for us. For those that don't know the history of the Evans Scholar Program, can you walk me through it?
Well, it's been around 100 years. It's centered in Chicago. They've expanded from Chicago now to the West Coast and to the East Coast to keep the program growing. They have 1,130 students in college under full scholarship. Graduation rate, 95%.
Wow.
The private nonprofit institution, 6 years or less, average is 65%. So once you're selected as an Evans Scholar, there is a railroad track to get you through in 4 years.
And what's the why, Jack? Like, why did the Evans Scholar Program begin?
Well, Chick Evans was an amateur golfer back in the 30s. He was getting prize money, said to his mom, I can't accept this. And she said, let's start a scholarship fund. So that's basically how it happened. Now it's expanded. They have 3 or 4 professional tournaments. The capstone, of course, is the BMW Championship, which is right before the FedEx Cup.
Which we're excited about having back here at Caves. Not this year, but soon. And obviously what an amazing moment it was just a couple of years ago when it was here. And with the idea of who is the Evans Scholar Program looking to honor? What is the type of person that you're looking to honor with the scholarship?
Well, first of all, they have to caddy.
Yep.
They have to have at least 80 loops over 2 years, 80 loops of caddying over 2 years, which is a lot of work. Typically 3.3 grade point average or higher, and financial need, and some civic activities. Are you involved in the community? Are you giving back? And you take a look at the interviews that I sat through in the Philadelphia area, and boy, the kids were just so accomplished for what they have been able to do in their short lives so far.
So, with that in mind, this year's winner is Shawntae Wilson, who is also with us this morning here on GCR. Shawntae is a caddy at Baltimore Country Club. Shawntae, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Hey, first of all, congratulations. I think that's the important part here. But second of all, I think your story is give me your background. How did caddying become something that you got involved with? How did you fall in love with this opportunity in the game of golf?
Well, when I was in 10th grade, my gym teacher had a golf unit for us. It was his first time teaching it. And someone originally from the first tee named Parker Braden, at the end of our unit, he had introduced his caddy academy that he would be hosting over the summer, which was that year 2022, I believe. And he said that it would be a great opportunity for us to earn money and build connections with people that we would be caddying for, and just get out and experience the environment, which all of which I believed that I needed, because I was a real shut-in. I rarely left the house during the summer. And so I started over the summer, and during that summer I met Mr. Palmer, and he told me about the Evans Scholarship, which I thought would be an amazing opportunity because it's always been my dream to go to college and become a veterinarian. So I worked the next 2 years as much as I can, as much as possible, going out every opportunity I can get to caddy. And I met so many amazing people. It became like my livelihood, basically, and it's been everything to me for the last 2 years.
That's so cool, Shawntae. Like, did you know anything about golf before all this started? Like, was it even something that was on your radar?
I didn't even know what a caddy was really when I first started.
Well, this is a great story. This is so cool. So you get involved, and you see this at some point. Like, how quickly did you take to it and say, I think that this is something that I could be able to do for a while, that I enjoy doing? And obviously you want to become a vet, but like, I'm imagining at this point that even as you become a vet, like, golf is a part of your life, right?
Yes, it's like so amazing to watch. Like, I would see PGA tournaments, and I'm not really a sports person, so they would just come on television. But now being up close and watching everything in person, it's actually really beautiful to me. Initially, I actually didn't even enjoy the experience because I wasn't very good at it at first. One thing I did learn, as taught by Mr. Palmer, is I need to hustle and persevere. And it was then, after I really grasped the concept of perseverance, that I enjoyed being a caddy.
This is such a cool story, Jack. When you hear, like, I guess let's talk about Shawntae a little bit, right? Because explaining everything you explained about who the program is for, why did you think Shawntae was the perfect person for the scholarship?
Well, over the course of 2 years, when she caddies for you, you're having casual conversations, back and forth about what's going on. And it was quick to understand that she wanted to go to college. But, I think one day I said, give me your typical day. Should I get up at 4:30, get myself dressed, get myself fed, and I start getting on buses so I can get to school. And I get home around 6:30. I stop at the gym on the way home. I thought, my God, here's a kid that's 16, 17 years old that really wants an education. She could have gone to the local high school, but she decided to go to the Bard School because she got in. But it takes her almost 2 hours to get there. And she's doing it. And she does it.
It's so cool.
So how can you not support them when they do that?
No, I greatly appreciate it. Shawntae, what did that mean to you to have that type of support? And just in general, what does it mean to you to know now that this path, you have this opportunity with the Evans Scholarship?
It honestly means the world to me. Without this scholarship and meeting all these amazing people that I've met over the last 2 years, I never really thought I would have made it. My family has always supported me, my grandmother, my parents, and my aunts. They've done their best, but we don't have a lot. And so even this year, prior to getting the scholarship, I wasn't sure that I was going to go to college if I didn't get any help. And so getting it I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe that it's actually happening because I'm just not used to having this much help and care around me.
It's so cool. This is such a cool story. Jack Palmer, a Baltimore Country Club member, and, of course, Shawntae Wilson, who's a caddy at the Baltimore Country Club, and now, on top of that, the recipient of the Evans scholarship, $125,000, and she's going to go be a vet. Shawntae, as I say this, like, it is, as you work to become a vet, do you envision continuing to be involved in caddying where you can? Is it something that you think you'll still find yourself doing? I know it's hard. Like, being a vet is real work, but, like, could you find yourself still being involved moving forward?
Of course. I dedicate everything to caddying because it really got me where I was, besides, of course, the people that helped me. But I love caddying, honestly. It's, like, my favorite activity. When it starts up again, it's like I'm so excited, honestly. It's something I really look forward to.
That's so cool. Jack, how's Shawntae as a caddy, right? Like, how much is her knowledge of the game gone, like, beyond just obviously carrying someone's bag, being a looper?
She's progressed pretty well. She understands, distances to the pin, covers over the bunkers, the hand signals. You just hit it out of bounds. You're safe. I mean, she's learned the full gambit.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
And she tries really, really, really hard.
Jack, I could kind of hear some of the emotion in your voice as you were talking. What does this mean to you to see this happen for Shawntae?
Oh my gosh. They're given an education that they worked to get. And, the caddying is great because every caddy loop has opportunity in it. Who you're going to meet, who you're going to connect with, how it's going to come together. Shawntae's already got a summer job with the veterinarian from one of the club members that heard about this and said, hey, come work for me.
That's cool.
Come learn about it. That doesn't happen normally. But in the world of golf, it happens very easily when these people, when you caddy for people, they want to support you. They want to make it work.
That's really awesome. And Shawntae, why becoming a vet? Where did that interest come from? When did you know that was something you were going to want to do?
Well, it changed over the years. I've always known I wanted to be a vet, but when I was younger, my father, he breeded dogs for a living. And so all my life, I've basically been surrounded by animals until I moved with my grandmother. And I had a dog, and one day my father took her for a walk, and she came back, and she had caught heat stroke. And me and my sister and my father did everything we could to try to keep her awake, but we couldn't. And so then I had built a resolve that if it was in my power, I would never let another creature die in front of me. And you can't do much if you don't have the experience. So I want to dedicate myself to being a veterinarian so I have that ability.
Shawntae, you're going to make me cry. That's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. That's incredibly powerful, and I don't even know that I have the words for how to follow up on this. If you want to find out more about the Evans Scholarship Program and the partnership with the WGA, you can go right now to WGAESF.org. That's how you can find out more about the program. Shawntae, this is wonderful. I'm so happy for you, and the emotion that Jack's conveying, I'm feeling every ounce of it because you are we need more of you in this world. Like, we need more driven young people that are going to make this world a better place. And to hear your story. It's incredibly powerful for me, and I am so rooting for everything that you're going to accomplish moving forward. Shawntae, congratulations. I can't say it enough. And both you and Jack, thanks so much for joining us to tell everybody this great story.
Hey, Glenn, this summer, come out and do a loop with us.
I'll do it.
And
I'll do it.
And meet some of the kids. We
Jack,
got 35 kids in the program right now.
Jack, I'm
that are
warning
just,
you.
Just like Shawntae.
I am a miserable golfer, so I definitely should be carrying someone's bags. I should not be. I am a terrible. Forrester's tried to fix me a lot over the years, and it has not worked.
Well, come visit us and see what it's like.
Jack, seriously, congratulations to you as well. And it's an amazing, amazing story that has really moved me this morning. Like I can't believe how much this has touched me. Congratulations to both of you. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Thanks, Glenn.
No problem.
Jack Palmer and Shawntae Wilson. Wow. How about that, young woman? How about that? Jeez. Could we use about 1 billion more of her? I want to try to figure out a way to raise more money. Like, here's another scholarship. Can you go solve all of our problems? God, listen to her talk, and your hope for humanity just kind of like becomes far more enormous. Man. Like, I appreciated it when I was asked if this was something that we would want. I was like, yeah, we do that. I had no idea what we were getting into. By the way, you're about to meet the most remarkable human being ever. Ever. God, that's awesome. All right, we got to get one more break in here. It's so much better doing that than yelling about running backs. Much more pleasant is that story than whether or not fighting with people on Twitter about.
Should have signed Saquon.
Look, man, and it's the thing too is I started this all by saying if it's Derrick Henry, I'm fine with it. Fine. My point is not never spend on a running back. It's I'm gonna be okay if you don't. I'm gonna be fine. The way that I would lose it about their inactivity at wide receiver over the years.
Doesn't apply to running back.
It doesn't. I don't feel the same way. That doesn't mean no to Derrick Henry. I would have really, if it's not Derrick Henry, then I'll be more disappointed about, like, you really could have had Gus Edwards for 2 years and $6.5 million. Really? 2 years, $6.5 million. You could have brought Gus Edwards back and you didn't. Like, we'll have that conversation. You know, the Zach Moss number, like those numbers to me are the numbers that are worth spending on a running back. But I get it. Derrick Henry's a high-level player. And if it's Derrick Henry, yeah, okay. If it's Derrick Henry at $12 million, But it doesn't look like that's what it is. And it looks like that's the reason why he's available. We haven't seen any reporting that would suggest that teams are trying to break the bank for Derrick Henry. Maybe that'll be, I don't know. Really wish we could do this past tense and not current tense.
Shaq Barrett.
Oh, gone?
Miami Dolphins.
They lost Van Ginkel.
And Wilkins. Yeah.
And, he's a different player. Yeah, Wilkins is more of a true defensive tackle. But add into that, of course, what's-his-face getting hurt against the Ravens at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah, Jalen Phillips.
Was it Phillips that got hurt against the Ravens, or was it
I
Chubb?
thought so.
I thought it was Chubb that got hurt.
Yeah.
Chubb got hurt against the Phillips had been hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt earlier.
Right, and then Chubb got hurt against the Ravens. So I don't know what Phillips' timeline is, but a lot of question marks there. So it does make sense that they were in the edge rush market and scratched the Baltimore native off the list. Remind me, I'll have plenty of room to be screaming about edge rushers. Plenty of room for that.
You had said it was going a slow day. It felt like Joe Mixon apparently being traded to the Texans.
I thought he was being released.
He said that is exactly how Rappaport phrased it as well. He was like, so instead of
being
yes,
the plan was to release
trading Joe Mixon to the Texans rather than releasing him.
So presumably that's not for a high cost.
I would like I'm assuming
it's got to be
a very low pick.
A very low pick or a pick swap.
Right.
because they were going to release him. The Texans just said, hey, instead of...
Can we just have him?
Yeah, right? Instead of that. I mean, obviously that makes sense because the Bengals acquired Zach Moss, who's, again, something that I would have been willing to do. I like the number. I look at that and I say, yep, would have done it. Would have done it.
Kirk Cousins gets another weapon.
Who'd he get?
Darnell Mooney.
Oh, okay. I mean, I like Darnell Mooney.
3 years, 39.
I don't know how good Darnell Mooney is. And, like, by the way, when you see that, you're like, is Darnell Mooney worth $13 million a year? But, like, remember what we said about Christian Kirk, right? Like, I think Darnell Mooney's talent is significant. And if the Falcons, they have very little, like, they have one wide receiver, right, in Atlanta, so they needed to have more than that.
Yeah, Drake London, they got Kyle Pitts, yeah.
What specifically, London's the only, like, real wide receiver they have.
Zacchaeus.
He was in
oh, right, that's right. Did
Philadelphia. He wasn't in.
Oh, he left.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
I wanted to say his name.
Yeah, he did have a fun name. I agree. I also struggled for a little while keeping him and Olabisi Johnson. Trying to remember who was who. Like, one's Olamide, one's Olabisi. Like, which one is which? I did struggle with that like a couple years ago when they were first, like, breaking out on the scene. I couldn't even tell you who the other wide receivers were on the Falcons depth chart last year. I swear to God, I could not tell you who else was there.
I guess there wasn't anyone.
God. I mean, they had somebody. Somebody was on the team.
Yeah, but no one.
Nothing. No one of any note. What's his face? There's somebody I'm thinking of that now I can't even remember if he was there or not. So I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want to sound like an a-hole. All right, who were their leading receivers a year ago?
Oh yeah. Wait, no.
Mac Hollins was there.
Mac Hollins.
All right, and Kadero Hodge was there.
And then apparently Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller were there as well.
Van Jefferson was there?
Apparently.
Really? I don't remember Van Jefferson being there at all.
Let's see. Van Jefferson's 2023. He was traded to the Falcons.
I don't remember
in
that.
October.
I don't remember that even a little bit.
Neither do I.
Don't even remember that a little bit. All right. Yeah, but still nothing with the Ravens bringing in
Tough
an
way
outside
to have a quarterback
player.
to get those guys the ball, so why would
Yeah,
we?
I mean, there's something to be said
Why
for
would
that.
we know?
There's something to be said for it. We come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get two, but to wind things down for a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Whew. All right, back in here on GCR as we wind down for a Tuesday edition of the program. Don't forget that the print issue of Press Box is still available at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. It's a deep dive into the 2024 Baltimore Orioles and what it's going to take for them to take the next step moving forward. And find it today at your neighborhood Royal Farms and any of those hundreds of locations around town, or you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. All right, anything that we didn't cover that we needed to cover? The Orioles lost. Shame on them. Shame on them. How dare they? I said this because we were watching the first of all.
Cancel the season.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. There's new ownership coming in, and I hope they'll make new decisions. That was gross. Like, it's one thing that, like, the broadcast, there's so many problems with the broadcasts. You're not sending the broadcasters to begin with. Now you're taking someone during the game. The Yankees broadcast is interviewing Jahmai Jones, Orioles legend Jahmai Jones.
Well, that's why, yeah.
The broadcasters that are calling the game aren't there. So at one point, a pitch is being thrown, and they can't see what's happening in the game because the Yankees broadcast, knowing it's a spring training game and who cares, is showing this interview. And they're like, well, they're talking to Jahmai Jones. That's what's happening on this video that we have nothing to do with. I'm going to... It's unacceptable. And we have to say that out loud. It's unacceptable. But hopefully it will be among the things that changes in the move to a new group of owners. And yeah, I saw my buddy Eric Arditi, Barstool RDT. I saw him yesterday, like Jackson Holiday at an infield single in the first inning and stole a base. And he like facetiously tweeted something out that was like, hey, but that doesn't matter because it's spring training. Like, to make fun of the people that say nothing that happens in spring training matters. Love you, buddy. Nothing in spring training matters. Really.
Well.
Now, that being said, if anyone's tried to suggest that it was a bad thing that Jackson Holiday stole a base, they'd be wrong, too. It's neutral both ways. And my point, and Eric knows this, because I know that Eric's not freaked out about Corbin Burns' spring ERA. I know that. And the reason why he's not is because we know spring training doesn't matter. We know that. It's just factual. Then that doesn't mean we're not allowed to be excited about guys. Be excited about Jackson Holiday. But the reason why we're excited about Jackson Holiday isn't because he's having a good spring. We're excited about Jackson Holiday because every layer of his accomplishments as a baseball player suggests this is who he is. or what he's capable of being anyway. Our excitement about Jackson Holliday isn't, here's a human that's playing well in March exhibition baseball games. Our Jackson Holliday excitement is everything about him says he's going to be very good at baseball. It's if this was Jake Fox, we would know better than to be excited about what he was doing. If everything that Jackson Holliday has done, give me a lower level player. Dan Johnson, right? That's the guy that
boy Daniel Johnson.
If Daniel Johnson was doing this, we know better than to say, "Oh, the Oilers found something in Daniel Johnson."
He's stealing a roster spot.
We know better. Because we know spring training isn't what matters. We know that. It's just fortification of the beliefs we originally held. There's a term for that. Why is my brain not working? Confirmation bias, essentially. And it's fine to be excited about it. In the same way, it doesn't really matter that Julio Teheran got shelled yesterday. But you know what does matter? That it's been 5 years since Julio Teheran was a real major league pitcher. So, and I love our guy Stan. And
He got outs last year.
Thank you.
I believe that was in real major league games.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you.
So.
Great
debunked.
Dynamite observation, Griffin.
Debunked.
Dynamite. You've added something here. It matters that Julio Teheran, who again, a week ago, as I bring up, my concern, Stan's like, well, I think they have something in Julio Teheran. I think that would be insane. If they actually feel that way, I think that's bat-ass. And it's not because he got shelled yesterday. It's because every ounce of the Julio Teheran track record suggests he's not a guy anymore. We're not talking about someone that's 2 years removed from a successful season. We're talking about someone who is 5 years removed from major league success. Five. Which, by the way, surprised me. I thought there had to have been something.
Is it really 5?
It's 5 years. Last year, in 11 starts, he pitched to a 4.40 ERA. So he pitched. He, legally speaking, pitched. And in an emergency, that might be enough for you to say, well, maybe he could pitch again. But to have him on the roster? This is one of those, dude, if you want to toil around in Norfolk and be an option if one of the original plans doesn't work, all good. But counting him as part of the plan is not something that I would be even a thought process for me. And to say, well, you put him in the bullpen to be your, he's your sixth starter, he just works in the bullpen. What do we know that says that Julio Teheran offers you something in the bullpen? To me, he starts in Norfolk. And, if he's blowing people away in Norfolk and, something happens to one of your guys, they are not getting the job done, and John Means isn't ready to come back, and, Kyle Bradish really is out for the season, which you would have thought by this point we might have known that, by the way. I did think about that yesterday.
By this point, when did they announce that it was? It was
4
weeks ago.
Basically a month ago, yeah, more or less. Not really. It was when it was the first day they were there, so not quite 1 full month, but approaching 1 month. So it feels like this is about.
What they say, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm still on the early end of that.
Yeah.
But if that's the reality, right?
We've seen video of him throwing baseballs, right?
Kinda. If that's the reality, that you don't have Kyle Bradish and John Means isn't quite ready yet, and Cole Irvin's getting shelled, or whatever, one of these guys I apologize to Cole Irvin. I should have said one of these guys getting shelled. That's unfair to him.
Cole
I think we
Irvin
say that because
blown up.
It's what happened a year ago, so you're like, hey, you're just recreating it, but that's unfair.
Grayson Rodriguez gets shelled.
It also, for a minute, happened last year. We do have to acknowledge that. Or one of these guys gets hurt, and you just need somebody to pitch. fine. Like, have him in Norfolk to be an emergency guy for a couple of weeks and see what happens. And yes, you can do worse than someone that can pitch to a 4.4 ERA. But to make that part of your plans,
would you be upset if part of the plan is, Chase McDermott or
the plan for what?
Justin Armbruster?
The plan for what?
If they really do start having these guys aren't performing as well and the injuries are starting to stack up.
I'd rather do better than that. And yes, of course. It'd be disappointing in hindsight that you had opportunities to add another pitcher
Blake
and
Snell
you
and
didn't.
Jordan Montgomery are still out there.
And look, I don't know if we have any further news today about Garrett Cole, but let's be clear. It would seem as though if Garrett Cole, if that really is significant, then I know we joked about Lucas Giolito being the thing that would lead to the Red Sox finishing the job on Jordan Montgomery. But as we said then, the Red Sox aren't a World Series contender. The Yankees think of themselves as the World Series contender. So I do think that if the Garrett Cole news from yesterday, is significant, that probably does change the reality.
Bob Nightingale tweeted half an hour ago that the Yankees, they're still awaiting news, but they re-engaged with the White Sox in talks about Dylan Cease.
It's a different route to go than. That's interesting, right?
It is interesting.
What the hell do the Yankees have to trade at this point?
He mentioned Spencer Jones, who is their prized outfield prospect, but they're not willing to budge on Spencer.
That's
Jones.
what I'm saying. How can they, if they don't do that, how could they? The word is the White Sox want a fortune,
and the Yankees give money to everyone. So why?
Yeah, why wouldn't you sign Jordan? Even if you say, well, we don't want it to be Snell, why? Man, I don't know. Yeah. It's very weird to me. It's very weird. I don't get that at all. All right, I think that covers everything. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by, this one's brought to you by Atman's Deli. Whew, you want that classic New York deli experience? Atman's Deli has a new location in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and this Atman's location also has a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com to find daily specials.
There have been 3 teams this season in the NBA that have lost to both the Wizards and the Pistons. Any idea who those 3 teams would be?
So the Wizards have won back-to-back games, so I'm guessing it's
so
one of the teams they beat in these back-to-back games, and that's why this is relevant. But then that requires me to remember who they beat to win back-to-back games. I only know this because it's the first time all season that I had to think about whether or not my Wizards under bet for the year is going to hit.
What was it at? Was it 18 or whatever?
No, I think it was 20.
Oh, you're fine.
I think you're right.
I think you're fine.
But I at least had to check because
I mean, they're going to have to finish above 500 the rest of the way, right?
Is that really where we're at this point?
I mean,
I don't. Oh, because they're still only at 11 wins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. What are we talking about?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, 24.5. Christ, what am I talking about? I'm getting this with ease. Why would I be concerned? Who did the Wizards beat? Son of a bitch. I did see it though. Was it Cleveland?
Not Cleveland.
Okay. Oh, that's who played the Suns. Never mind. Well, I only pay attention to so many NBA things. It was crap. They played.
It was on Friday. The team that they beat Friday. So they beat the Heat on Sunday night. Miraculously.
Actually, the Heat was going to be my guess.
Yeah. That would have been one of my guesses as well.
On Friday, they beat the Pelicans.
No. Kind of close-ish.
Kind of close-ish.
In a weird way. You can.
Oh, is it the Hornets?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? That actually... You actually said that about the exact right way. Honest to God.
The Charlotte Hornets have lost to both the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards. 2 other teams.
That's rough.
One on each coast.
So a West Coast team that's lost to both of them.
Yeah. Which is kind of pretty embarrassing because they probably only played them each once.
The Blazers?
The Trailblazers, yeah.
They're not very good.
They're not very good.
Post Damian Lillard.
Struggling.
Whew.
And the other team, I don't know if they're relevant in the East or not this year. I don't know.
Don't know if they're relevant in the East.
They're not. They're in 11th place.
Chicago.
Right, not Chicago. Chicago's in 9th place.
Pretty close.
Guess the Eastern Conference standings.
Yeesh. Boston.
Well, they're number 1, yeah.
List. End of list. Actually, this would be a fun game. You know what? This is a fun game.
Okay, we'll get the final. Or I guess we'll name them at some point.
Milwaukee, I assume, is still second.
They are still second. They're 8.5 games back of Boston.
The Knicks?
The Knicks are in 4th place. They're 5 games back of Milwaukee.
Oh, Cleveland is.
Cleveland, yes. Cleveland is in 3rd. They're a game behind Milwaukee. Everyone playing for, I don't know. It's kind of.
Then it's the Sixers.
The Sixers are in 6th.
Yuck.
They are a half game behind the current 5th place team, which you'll never guess this one.
I was going to say the Heat.
The Heat are in 8th.
That's where they were last year, though.
The Heat in the 8th place will be the last team above 500 as well in the East Coast, or Eastern Conference.
Who am I forgetting about?
I think we talked about them a couple months ago, and we were like, you'll never be able to name any player on this team.
The Magic. We did do that.
The Magic are in
How
5th
are the
place.
And I could name because the Wagners are
the
both
Wagners
there,
are
aren't
on
they?
there. There's another player you should know because he was he the number 1 overall pick? Like 2 years ago.
Oh, and I was like, that's where that. Wait, really?
Duke player.
Duke player who was a number 1
number 1 or
overall
number 2?
pick? Oh, Paolo. Yeah, of course, Paolo.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
What am I doing? Yeah, Paolo. Yeah.
So that's the top 6. Their Magic are 5. Sixers are 6th. Who's in 7th?
Who have I not named?
About half the
It's
conference.
not the Wizards, the Pistons. It's not the
Wizards or
Hornets. We already
Pistons.
got them. It's not the Raptors.
Wizards and Pistons, 39 games back of the Celtics.
So it's the Hawks?
No, the Hawks are in 10th.
It's the Pacers.
The Pacers are in 7th.
The Fighting
place.
Jalen Smiths.
Yes, and Tyrese Halliburton's. They're in
he's
7th
okay.
place. So then you said the Heat are in 8th. Did you say 9th place? I feel like you might have said a name and I might have just missed it.
Who have I not?
The Hawks I said are in 10th.
Well, I guess the Bulls earlier.
The Bulls are in
right?
9th.
So it's the Bulls are in 9th.
The Bulls are in
okay.
9th at 31 and 34.
And then
Nets are
the Nets.
Oh,
that's who I was.
Darn,
that's
why
who
did
I
I
was.
say-
Well, I was gonna get there. I knew
You
who the
would have.
teams are in
The
the
Nets
Eastern
the Nets have
Conference.
also lost to both the Pistons and
This
the
was
Wizards.
quite the exercise. We want to do this with the Western Conference.
Do it tomorrow. Save it for tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the Raptors and then Hornets are both ahead of the Wizards. And
I saw
Pistons,
somebody tell me
barely.
reason. Somebody on Twitter who's a basketball mind that I respect was like, "You guys are missing this. The Timberwolves are the best team in the NBA, and they're going to win the NBA Finals." And I was like,
Well, I don't know about winning the NBA Finals.
I was like, I
but
just find that so difficult to accept as fact.
got Anthony Edwards.
Like, I hear you, but like, the Nuggets are breathing. You know what I mean? Like,
Nuggets-
it's just
all right. You want to do it right now or
no. We'll save it for tomorrow. Save it for
no
tomorrow.
cheating?
I would have forgotten this within 5 minutes.
Do not watch any basketball tonight.
Yeah, well, I don't think you have to worry about that. Although there really isn't anything to watch tonight. Now that I say it out loud, I don't know. what
All
I'll
right,
do
and I
after
did
that.
have another one that was supposed to be somewhat relevant. So the Ravens do lose. They're in Gus Edwards. They're going to lose one of their all-time leading rushers in franchise history. I want you to guess what place all-time rushing Gus is, as he is one of 7, I believe. Yeah, one of 7 Ravens to have 2,000 yards in their Ravens career.
All right, so at the top is Jamal Lewis.
Jamal Lewis, 7,800 yards.
I assume Ray Rice.
Ray Rice is second, just north of 6,000.
This is where it gets interesting because I'll say Willis McGahee is next.
Willis McGahee is not next. He is 5th.
5th. All right, so how about Priest?
Priest Holmes will be after Willis McGahee,
Really?
6th, 2,100.
These are surprising things. Does this count Lamar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
Gus
son
is
of-
number 3.
My
Sorry.
fault.
Lamar
is number.
Yeah,
3.
Lamar is number 3.
That's that.
5,258 rushing yards.
I was just thinking running backs. That's where that.
Lamar seems well on his way to dethroning Jamal.
Le'Ron McClain.
Not Le'Ron McClain.
He's not in the top 7, really?
No. All these guys have at least 2,000 yards as Ravens. The guy I made this about is number 4.
Gus.
Yes. Gus is number 4. Actually,
So
I
I'm
said his
just
name.
looking for
So looking for number
6 and
7.
7.
No, Priest is 6th.
Yeah, Priest 6. I'm just looking for number 7.
Correct.
Justin Forsett.
Justin Forsett, 2,005 yards just makes the cutoff. Those are your top 7 rushers all time for the Ravens.
I guess I forget that there were times where LeRon really was like a true fullback. Like, they really did
He
use
has
him.
1,185 rushing yards with the Ravens.
I forget. They're really, like, you think of the times where there were really seasons where he was just a fullback. Like, that's all he was. And by the way,
15th all-time Ravens.
I don't know because I never, at the time, I was told that LeRon McClain, I don't remember what game it was, recorded the highest grade ever given out by the Ravens internally.
Oh, wow.
For an offensive player in a game where, like, he didn't touch the ball. Like, it was wild.
Just blowing dudes up.
Just leveling people.
Well, you want to name all the 1,000-yard rushers?
Oh, for God's sakes.
There's like 10
How
more.
many? 10?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Jesus.
Yeah, 10 more. And we named LeRon McClain.
Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins, yes. 1,300 yards. I mean, we don't have to, I guess.
Eric Rhett.
Yes. Eric Rhett, 1,032. Just makes the cutoff.
Bam Morris.
Bam Morris, he would be number 9 all-time Ravens rushers. 1,500 yards.
How about...
So there's one guy.
Chester Taylor.
Chester Taylor ahead of Bam Morris. 1,599.
How about Mark Ingram?
Mark Ingram, yes. He is 13th. Yeah, 13th all-time Ravens.
Bernard Pierce.
Bernard Pierce is north of 1,000. Yes, he is he's about 17 yards ahead of Mark Ingram.
So I'm still missing 3 more.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Justice Hill?
Not Justice Hill. Justice Hill is at 934 in his career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Alex Collins.
Alex Collins.
Yeah, because it only takes one big season. Yeah.
He would round out the top 10 with he had 1,384.
Is there another quarterback on the list?
There is not. Flacco has 811.
I was wondering if just the sheer totality of how much Flacco played, he would have gotten there. So I'm still missing one.
Tyler Huntley cracks the top 30.
I'm missing 2.
Correct.
There's not really another fullback that ran a lot. Like, LeRon's the only fullback that really got a lot of carries. It's like, I don't think Sam Gash or Femi or
no.
Femi actually did a little bit of work as a running back, but mostly as a fullback. Kenneth Dixon?
Good guess, but no, he is just outside. 715.
Buck Allen?
Buck Allen, yes. 1,250 yards in his Ravens career. One more. He had 1,092 rushing yards in his Ravens career. Was that all in one season? I'm trying. Let me double check this. Oh, that was across. Yeah, it was across.
Terry Allen?
Not Terry Allen. In his big season with the Ravens, he had 774 rush yards. Back in 2016, at 770 rush yards.
Terrence West?
Terrence freaking West.
Wow, I'm surprised. I
don't
remember him being that productive.
He had 1,092 yards in his Ravens career. Yeah.
Right.
He had a good year in 2016.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Maybe we bring him back.
Yeah, right? I was trying to think of somebody had a suggestion for how we could better our because we could do the Terrence West game, right? Like the way that we did the Charlotte thing yesterday.
Played for the Browns.
Okay, played for the Titans. Didn't he? Yes.
Yeah,
he played for the Titans.
Yeah. He tried launching a rap career, didn't he?
That seems not like it's a fact as much as it's you asking me a question.
I'm pretty sure he did. Because I remember him coming back to like a Towson game.
You become the king of Terrence West facts. He went to Towson.
Let's see. He's Towson's all-time leading rusher.
Played in a national championship game.
Yeah, he did. Played. He played in 2 national championships.
No, he did not.
He played in a.
You're a loser. You're a loser on your boy, on a Towson legend. You're a loser. Come on, man. Be shame. He went to Northwest High School.
Did he really?
Of course he did. Think I don't know things. Trying to think if I could have gotten anything else on Terrence West.
He wore number 28.
Rob Ambrose was his coach in Towson.
That counts.
Counts.
You
already lost. What are we doing? You already got a fact wrong. You can't get a fact wrong and come back in and try to keep playing.
So then what was? So Rob Ambrose's brother was his OC.
But you can't even tell me what Rob Ambrose's brother's name is.
Jared.
Yeah, all right, that is true. And I think he was his OC, but I don't know that. I would have to be trusting you, and I'm not sure I'm willing to trust you on this after you've already gotten something wrong here.
You can trust me. He rushed for 700 yards with the Ravens in one season.
He beat Jimmy Garoppolo in the playoffs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I know I'm
you're
right.
You're right.
I know I'm
You're
right,
he did.
Chief.
It was snowing in that game.
It was. It was a Friday night.
It was 2013.
Okay, now we're getting really fringe. You already lost. I don't care. I'm the
Jimmy
king.
Garoppolo played for Northern Illinois.
He did not.
Southern Illinois.
Nope. Try again.
Where did he play? Oh, Eastern Illinois.
Eastern Illinois on the third bounce.
He played for Eastern Illinois. Knew it.
You're way off on your fact.
I mean, it was a directional Illinois
That
school.
one would not qualify as a Terrence West fact. Telling me now, if you said he beat Eastern Illinois after I already said, I guess I would have had to have qualified that. But the way that you said it did not qualify as a fact. We got to still work on all the details of this game.
Yeah.
We got to still get that. I'm trying to think if there's
I think
anything.
I just don't have as many facts.
He won the award for the what do they? Was that the? What do they? It's the Jerry Rice Award, right? That's what he won. Did I have that right? What's the award they give for the player, like the most outstanding player?
Yep. Jerry Rice Award.
Is it the Jerry Rice Award?
It is.
Okay.
Awarded to the most outstanding FCS player.
Eat it. I'm over here just facting.
Well, now I have lost because to verify that I pulled up his Wikipedia, so I can't say anything else. Yeah.
Who else has won the Jerry Rice Award over the years? Who have been the winners of the Jerry Rice Award?
All right. Trying to think of.
He was the inaugural winner of the Jerry Rice Award.
How about
apparently.
that?
I did not realize that.
There's some good names on here.
Cooper Kupp was a winner of the Jerry Rice. Look at that.
Chase Edmonds.
By the way, Cooper Kupp in 2013. Yeah, Chase Edmonds turned into a player. Trey Lance. Okay.
Jury out.
Shador Sanders, a winner of the Jerry Rice Award. It's not a bad list. All right, very good. That's our game. Now, Tubular is brought to you by.
It's the most outstanding freshman player in FCS.
Oh, that's what it is.
Okay.
Okay. All right,
So
that's
that
what
makes
it is.
more
Well, I
sense.
knew he won the award.
I know. I was like, wow, 2011.
I still got it. I still got that fact right, that he won the Jerry Rice Award. I had that.
3-time first-team All-CAA.
Yeah, but you didn't know that until you looked it up on Wikipedia, jerk. Wikipedia is not how. Oh, we hang on. The trivia questions. We won last night. Big winners.
Oh, congrats.
Last night, pretty dominant performance last night.
Well done.
By the way, nice of you to not show up.
I mean, you guys are
ever
on a
since.
heater since I.
Well, we
since
weren't
I
the
did
preview.
show
We
up.
sucked last week.
Was that the World Series or whatever?
We didn't suck in the World Series. We just missed the final, the chomp question. No, there's been 3 weeks in the new season. We've won 2 of those weeks. The other one, we were dreadful. Like, it is very all or nothing for us. We either win or we suck. The sports questions last night, a lot of people got this one wrong. Who won this year's Daytona 500? Yep. I got it, but
Kevin Harvick.
William Byron won the Daytona 500.
Billy Byron.
This happened to me last year. Like 2 weeks after Daytona 500, they did this question at
Didn't
trivia.
somebody real win it though last year?
Well,
Wasn't
I
it,
remembered
Chase
it.
Elliott,
I remembered it was a junior, but I guess
Oh,
Martin Truex Jr. and it was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who had won. So I missed out on that one.
William
I remembered that when the Daytona 500 happened this year, and I said, file that away. Who won the race in case it comes up
always
at
do it.
trivia?
Did anyone
again.
get it?
Apparently 3 teams.
You got it.
I got it.
You
Yes,
remember
I got
that
it.
it was.
I remembered.
I already
But
forget
I
his
remember
name,
when it
Byron.
said it when they asked the question, I was like, oh. And then I'm like, I think this is it because I think I remember telling myself file it away. William, but I did.
Had to
I did
search
get it
around,
right.
look around a little bit. And
I got it right. Oh, okay. Across sports, 3 different leagues have retired a number throughout the league. Baseball 42, basketball 6, and hockey 99. Who are the 3 athletes that those numbers have been retired in honor of?
Gretzky.
Yes.
Jackie
Jackie.
Robbins. Yeah, Jack Robbins.
Everybody just calls him Jack.
6 for basketball?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was not certain
Doesn't
of it.
LeBron
We
wear
got
it?
it right. Yes, it must have gotten special permission. We got it right, but I was not aware of this.
I don't know. Bill Russell?
Yes.
It is Bill Russell?
Bill Russell.
Okay.
100%
All right.
it was Bill Russell. And then, but I was like,
yeah, I know.
I'm like, I guess it's, we got it. And then this one, it's sports, but what movie is based off the life of boxer Jake LaMotta? It's shameful if you don't get
it. It is shameful.
Shameful. It's a really well-known movie.
Rocky.
I hate you.
I'm sorry.
Raging Bull. Raging Bull is the story of Jake LaMotta. All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. Tubular is brought to you by...
Why'd you do that to me?
Why would I? What do you mean, why did I do that to you?
I wasn't going to get that.
Well, that's... you.
What's his name so I can follow this
Jake
away?
LaMotta.
Jake LaMotta, all right.
You should watch Raging Bull is what you should do. It's a very famous film. It's a... What am I doing? Why do I waste my time with this? What are we doing
film.
here?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's an old film. You're not allowed to watch
yeah,
old
Oh,
films.
Frank Vincent?
Anyway, here's what's Tubular is brought to you by Superbook.
Yeah, I guess I'll watch this.
Oh, good. Thanks. I'm glad you could be bothered. Mount St. Mary's 4-point. By the way, glad I didn't bet Charleston last night.
The only bet I made
Failed the cover.
I was like, I'm betting Towson money line. And so,
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You're feeling pretty good late.
I was. Going into that final media.
Mount St. Mary's 4-point favorites against Canisius in Atlantic City tonight. I like it.
I think I like the Mount as well. Canisius is missing their leading scorer.
Ooh,
yeah.
Relevant. Also, this has got to be difficult for you since they named the team after you at Canisius.
Yeah, I'll ride
Got
the
to be
Mount.
tough. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think I like the Mount tonight. It's at 4 points. So if you like that too, get in at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. No, sorry, that's not. Why would I say that? Get in Glenn Clark 20.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess, but that's not going to help you make a bet. Glenn Clark 23 at Superbook. Download the Superbook app. Go to superbook.com. Use that code when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match. Win or lose from Superbook. All right. 5 NCAA tournament tickets set to be punched tonight. Let me guess, start locally, yes. Mount St. Mary's takes on Canisius, 5:15 on ESPN+. Also, big day for the Mount as Maryland baseball is playing at the Mount today at 3 o'clock. It's a shame they didn't ask you to do that one. That would have been a fun one. Oh, is that my guy Adam do those? Adam Pohl from the Bayside.
Does he?
I think he's doing.
You'll hear
that.
me. St. Bonaventure plays Mount on Friday.
Ooh,
So,
big one.
yeah.
Big one. Although Adam, now that I think about it, he would probably be with the basketball team. So, real shame you didn't get that one.
It is, yeah.
What are you, 5th on the pecking order? What the hell's going on out there?
I don't know.
Man, that would have been a fun one.
I'll have to talk to some people, I guess.
Yeah, right? Rattle some chains. Not going to stand for this. No broadcast whatsoever for Rays Orioles today at 1 o'clock. Taj Bradley and Tyler Wells, the pitching matchup. Hey, there she is. 5 NCAA tournament tickets being handed out. CBS Sports Network for the CAA Championship, Charleston and Stony Brook at 7. Summit League title game, Denver and South Dakota State at 9:30. ESPN, the Horizon League Championship, Oakland, Milwaukee at 7. Also the WCC Championship, although that one doesn't matter because, whoever loses between Gonzaga and St. Mary's is also going to make the NCAA tournament. And the NEC Championship game tonight on ESPN2, Wagner and Merrimack at 7 as well. The rest of the college basketball schedule for tonight you can find at glennclarkradio.com. As Patrick mentioned, the ACC tournament gets underway on the ACC network. Wizards Grizzlies at 8 on Monumental. TNT Sixers Knicks 7:30. T-Wolves Clippers at 10. Coverage from Indian Wells. Did you see what happened last night? Novak Djokovic out.
Oh, I saw Osaka lost. That was...
Yeah, but I told you that was...
Yeah.
Someone named Lucas Nardi, an Italian, a lucky loser.
Nardi.
Got Novak Djokovic last night at Indian Wells. So a big story there. Paramount Plus Champions League today. Arsenal Porto at 4. Barcelona Napoli at 4. I just realized that after daylight savings time, they don't put Champions League on CBS anymore because it would run into local news. So it's only the 3 o'clock games. Good, but 4 o'clock games? Nope, sorry, can't be on CBS. Why wouldn't they put them on CBS Sports?
Or just get rid of daylight savings.
We want to stay here. We don't want to get rid of. We want it to be permanently daylight savings time. That's what we want. MLB Network.
But
Yankees,
whatever they would choose to do, it'd become normal. And
no, because I don't want it to be dark at 5 o'clock.
Well, I mean,
I specifically don't want that.
Summer though, it's not gonna. It will still.
I understand that, but I never want it to be dark at 5 o'clock. I don't want us to change the clock in November so it gets dark at 5 o'clock. I don't want that ever again. I want it to stay this way.
Who do we write to about this?
Our Senator Reedy was working on it. A friend.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was. He was working right before right before the pandemic, like 2 weeks before the pandemic. There was movement, and he was feeling good about the chances of it.
People got distracted.
Yes, we realized we had significantly bigger fish to fry. It's time.
Arguably,
let's revisit it. It's time. MLB Network, Yankees, Blue Jays at 1, Diamondbacks, Padres at 4, Brewers, Cubs at 9, USA Network for NXT tonight at 8. Non-sports?
Not really. A new episode of Shogun on FX, and then on HBO there is a documentary called The Lionheart. It's about Dan Weldon, the IndyCar racer.
His kids is really who it's about because they're trying to follow in his footsteps as racers. Dan Weldon, you might remember, passed away during a race in Las Vegas a few years back. And two sons? Two sons.
Yes, 2 sons.
Both getting into racing themselves.
Correct.
I don't look, racing in general is not my thing. I don't do Formula 1. I don't do any of them. But that is an interesting story.
Yes.
Thanks today to a whole list. Thanks to Patrick Stevens. Thanks to Wes Brown. Thanks to Bo Smolka. Thanks to Derrick Mason. And thanks to both Jack Palmer and Shawntae Wilson. That ended up being the highlight of my day, that segment. Telling you, there's sometimes we do segments where that's kind of that one. It's restored my hope in humanity. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God, it's so good. Sorry, George or somebody retweeted something about Patrick Queen.
Oh,
Jordan Salt said the Panthers are in the running. That's all he said about Patrick Queen.
Okay,
thought it was something real.
All right, very good. All right, tomorrow on the program, anything? Oh boy.
Stuff and things.
Oh, boy. Boy. Oh, boy.
I believe we're going to try to catch up with Stan tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's a big get.
Well, he's down in Florida, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to track him down while he's down there.
That's a good point. Okay. Thanks, everybody at PressBox. All of our great sponsors and partners, including Ruth's Chris, Live Casino and Hotel, Atman's Deli, AJ Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, Superbook Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. Go Mount. Duke sucks.